All right. So, episode 34, Badass Records podcast, Louis Pagan. How's it going?
It's going good, man. It's good to be here.
I said it right?
You did.
I think I butchered it the first time you were here. But
everybody does, man. It's that accent over the second A that sometimes doesn't get typed.
Right.
And, so I appreciate it.
So we know each other via the infamous Brett Batliner. He one time cooked for me at a place in Lee Summit. However, I forget how you guys know each other.
Well, I met Brett probably through a mutual friend of ours who I went to high school with named Sean Winter.
Okay.
You know Sean?
I don't think so.
No. Well, just food industry peeps. And just from hanging around in downtown Lee Summit a lot, I actually saw Brett a couple of days ago.
Oh, yeah?
We were just talking about how crappy that Chiefs game was.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I had a feeling all week long like this is the total trap game, overlook on the schedule. Colts are struggling. We'll come out there and have zero issues getting that W. And then it was just like, what?
Right at the very beginning, too. I was like, are you serious, man?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And I don't, it doesn't strike, it's not familiar to me that you did restaurant industry time. Did you do a lot or?
Almost none. No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I haven't worked anywhere in downtown Lee Summit. Actually, the extent of my experience in that is probably would be just like being a delivery guy.
Okay.
I've done delivery driving for Pizza Huts and Domino's,
Sure.
and just like random bars like up in Minnesota too.
Okay.
But I've never been like a line cook or
Do
tended bar, like waited tables or anything like that.
Social circles,
Yeah.
people. Okay. Right on.
Yeah.
He's been a person that I have not, several reschedules.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to try to get, but I figured like, he was somebody that was kind of always a question mark on the schedule.
Yeah.
Like hope he's going to be here today. So I expected nothing less, but good kid nonetheless. Is he still pursuing the rap thing that you know of, or?
I don't know for sure. We talk about music a lot.
I bet.
Like we talk all about like, different bands that he sees. Like the other day he was what were you talking about? I guess we're the same age, so we talk a lot about the stuff that we grew up on.
Sure.
Like Linkin Park and Deftones, and we both love Chevelle a lot, and it's fun to like bond over that kind of stuff. But also there's some newer bands that we've kind of got on about that kind of harken back to that sound. So he's just a fun person to talk music with,
Well, he's clever and he's got a good sense of humor and likes to have a good time.
And his rapping stuff is good.
I know. Well,
like,
it was good 10 years ago when he was cooking for me.
Yeah.
So does that make, are you 30?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's right there with you.
Yeah. I think we probably graduated the same year.
Okay.
In high school, but he went to North.
Who knows?
At least Summit North.
It's a whole other
school.
universe out there in the Summit.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
If you don't live there or didn't grow up there, it's like, I remember when and it's obviously grown over the last 20 years, but I moved back here in 2000 and I was dating a girl whose folks lived out there. And I remember getting out there for the first time. And I have an uncle and an aunt out there. My ex-wife has cousins out, but just being like, oh my God, this is enormous.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
a whole
huge.
other thing.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Minnesota, and that jogged my memory a little bit to when you came by to help me get this thing going.
Yeah.
Many thanks for that. That was really great.
Oh man, it's a pleasure. I love doing all that kind of stuff. So.
So born and raised in Minnesota, and then moved to Lee Summit, or no?
I kind of moved around a little bit. I was born in a town called Marshall in Michigan.
Okay.
So I was born there. My sister was born in Evanston, Illinois, where my parents were completing their doctorate degrees at Northwestern.
Wow.
And so that happened, and then they moved to Michigan, where my dad got his first job, and then I was born, and then he got a better job in Duluth, Minnesota, and that's where my brother was born.
Okay.
And then after that, he got another better job in Colorado. Enter the Colorado phase
Okay.
of my life. So I was 6 years old when we moved there, and then he got the job at UMKC when I was 13. So I had like a good 7 years there. And then after that, at least my parents have just been chilling here the whole time.
So sister, are you the baby?
I'm the middle kid.
You're the middle.
Yep.
And younger brother is like Air Force.
That's right.
Alaska.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good memory, man.
Well, I mean, the only reason is because we did a demo, and
Oh yeah.
and like
we did talk for some,
like all of a sudden 20 minutes went by.
Yeah.
And then after you were gone, I rendered it and sent it to myself and listened to it like on my phone with the headphones in. And so I think it came up then, and it wound up being, I mean, I was fascinated by just the little 20-minute chat we had.
Yeah. I mean, we were going.
So he's still doing that. He's still in the services and still out of Alaska.
Yeah. He lives in him and his wife live in a little town called Chugiak.
Okay.
Which is 25-ish minutes, I think, north of Anchorage.
Okay.
But I'm not totally sure. It's close enough that it's not a big hassle to drive in there.
Sure.
But also, which is where the base is, like basically just outside of Anchorage. So when he drives to work, I think it's like a 20-25 minute drive.
And your sister's where?
She's back in Denver.
Okay.
She just had her first baby.
Oh, wow. So you're
I'm an
first-time uncle?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So that's a new thing that happened.
I have 3 younger sisters, 2 here and single, 1 in Chicago, 3 daughters, and this is a birthday card that they made me here on the wall that says "Happy Birthday, Uncle Blair." And they're all first grade and younger, and it was just it came. I mean, probably right around the time you came here first. I think it was last. It might have been the December before, but either way, it was very sweet. And I was like, I'm gonna make that a nice piece for the wall because it's cool being an uncle.
Dude, it is, man. It is. I've really been enjoying it so far. I kind of wish we lived closer, but I think I've seen him maybe like 5 or 6 times.
Oh, for real?
So yeah, I
nice.
mean, she comes and visits. My mom and dad I think just my mom went and visited one time because my parents are like so stoked to be grandparents now. It's awesome. And yeah, they're just like, it's weird to like see my sister as a mom.
Yeah.
It's not weird. I'm surprised that she's a good mom,
right.
But it's just kind of surreal to just know that that's like who she is now. And it's so awesome. She sends us videos all the time of the kid, and it's like, it's a trip, man.
Are the 3 of you as siblings close?
Yeah, very
nice,
extremely close. We talk like every day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How often do you get to see your brother?
I wish a little bit more often, because it's just hard with the distance and
Yeah.
stuff. But let's see. I guess the next time I'm going to see Charlie would be. So I might have told you when we were talking last that we go to Breckenridge every 2 years.
That sounds a little familiar.
I think that's the next time I'm going to see him. So that'll be in like 8 months or so.
Okay.
I did get to see him earlier this year because he had quite a bit of leave or he had like a TDY somewhere, but then he had like a couple of days left over and he was able to come through here for a weekend or something.
Nice.
And it was just like really, really convenient. So
your folks are super smart people. Doctorates from Northwestern.
They both got their doctorates in music. I don't know if that's a smart thing to get a music degree and take it that far, but yeah.
Just for Northwestern to take a look at you.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, not everybody gets to go there that wants to, I don't think.
Yeah, they certainly took on a lot of debt, and they just went for it.
Is that where they met?
They actually met when they were doing their undergrads at Kent State in Ohio.
Okay.
So
yeah.
that's how they sort of came together. So yeah, they've known each other since maybe like 20.
Yeah, late teens, early 20s.
Got married like maybe 7 or 8 years later, and then started popping the kids out.
Right, right. And so you're 30, and you're the middle. Brother is how much younger?
He's gonna turn 28 tomorrow. Is his birthday?
Okay. Happy belated by the time this comes out. Did you say Charlie?
Yep.
Happy belated to Charlie.
Yeah, man.
And your sister's how old?
She is gonna be. God, it's so crazy how this gets harder to remember. Like,
well,
when you get older.
This COVID fog behind us, I don't think has helped with dates and memory.
Oh yeah, yeah. So she, I want to say, she's 31.
Okay, so they kind of like did it. I mean, pop out the kids, and they're all like a nice short spread.
Yep,
so
and then done so.
But I mean, also like that makes for a lot of time under the same roof.
Yeah.
Like dude that was just over is just him and his younger brother who's my age.
Yeah.
And he's 10 years older.
Dang, man.
So like I met my buddy in like 86, and we ride bikes around and shoot, do whatever, go to school together.
Yeah.
And it was like a while before I was like, wait, you have an older brother? Because he was already gone.
Yeah.
I mean,
man. Starting his life and stuff, probably.
Yep. Actually, he's a musician.
Oh, cool.
He just spent a big chunk of time in St. Louis.
Nice.
And now is living kind of outside of Topeka. And he's itching. He hasn't had a gig since December, just because of the way things have. But he's a guitar player, and he's like a straight jazz guru. Like,
oh, wow.
We spent a lot of time talking about Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie,
Louis Armstrong.
Yeah, Louis Armstrong came up a ton.
If you're a pianist,
right?
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Wild stuff. Specifically, I mean, all of the things that he sent me were great, but there was a record called Sinatra Live at the Sands, and it's from we talked a good bit about Miles Davis too. It's from '66, and it's in Vegas, and Count Basie's 18-piece orchestra is the backing.
Oh, geez.
And it's a double album, and you know Sinatra just has the room. Everybody's like bated breath between every song, and when
that's tremendous.
Yeah, really wild. But did mom and dad did they play music in the home, like records, or have the radio on, or?
It's funny because we have 2 grand pianos in that house. They're both Steinways, so there's a lot of piano playing. And they have like a vinyl player and like a stereo set, but it's almost like there's kind of this weird phenomenon that I don't hear people talking a lot about, where like if you're a musician and like music is like kind of your life, then sometimes you just like don't want to, like, sometimes you just don't want to listen to it because you're like, I've been like dealing with this all day. So
dude,
I would expect, like, if I, like, from an outsider's point of view, I feel like people would be like, oh, you guys don't like listen to music in the house?
I mean, I had the dude I had on for episode 12. He's a Super Bowl champion.
Oh, wow.
Played at K-State, and then was drafted by the Cardinals and played for a couple of shitty Rams teams. But
dude, still, that's amazing.
He won a Super Bowl in New Orleans with Drew Brees. And when I first met him and was like learning a little bit about, you know, I asked him one day, like, you know, when you're not playing, are you consuming the other games via television? He's like, absolutely not.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you got to take a break sometimes, man.
I was like, what? Because he sometimes will see like NFL athletes like tweeting, you know, during Sunday night game or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I just assume that everybody is, and he's like, no, man, not at all. And I was like, that makes sense. So they didn't have the radio on or put records on when you guys were little?
I mean, when we were growing up, yeah, like I remember probably the first music I ever remember hearing in my life was the Revolver on cassette.
The Beatles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lot of Beatles growing
Okay.
up, and just a lot of like random classical music.
Okay.
And stuff. They're both like super knowledgeable in jazz and classical, but I would say that like stylistically, my dad is jazz, like big time, and my mom is really into classical music, but like specifically like this Spanish kind of a style.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird. I wouldn't really call it like a niche thing, but she likes a lot of the Spanish composers.
Cool.
And actually recorded an album. I actually recorded her and kind of mixed and mastered an album that she came out with of like solo piano music.
Really?
Yeah.
Her own original material.
Not original
Okay,
stuff.
okay.
But
it's her playing it?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was a cool project.
What does it live somewhere? I mean, or did you just burn it onto discs or what? How did?
I don't know if she put it up on, like if she put it through DistroKid and it's on iTunes and stuff. I think it might be like
Okay.
iTunes, Spotify, all that stuff. But
What's it called?
It's called Cordoba,
Okay.
which is like a place in Spain. I guess I've never been there.
With an accent over the first O.
Yes,
Right.
Cordoba.
Cordoba. Yeah.
So that's the name of it, and
what's her name?
her name's Julie.
Julie. Okay. Interesting. I'd be curious just to do a search and see if it's out there. And
I want to go back and listen to that stuff because it just takes me back like
how long ago did you do it?
I want to say 4 years ago.
Okay.
It actually, we were working on it 4 years ago, and the recording process probably took less than a year. It was just kind of us getting together whenever we both had time.
Sure.
She's very she's an outstanding pianist, but she's like really hard on herself and like,
I bet.
gets into her head and is like kind of a perfectionist. She doesn't work like in music full time. She works for I almost said Sun Microsystems. God, she works for Oracle.
The new Cerner or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, they just acquired Cerner.
Right,
Actually.
right.
But no, she's been working for Oracle for, I want to say close to 20 years now.
Oh.
She started before we moved here. But back then it was called Sun Microsystems.
Okay.
So she's a technical account manager for them. I think when she was around 40 years old, she just decided to completely pivot because it's just hard. The music industry is just hard, man.
Well, yeah.
It's
What was
really
she
hard
doing?
to-
What was she doing prior to the pivot?
She did, like, she was teaching piano lessons a lot. She was teaching pedagogy lessons, like in the colleges and stuff. And
What is it?
pedagogy?
What's that?
Pedagogy is basically teaching people how to teach something.
Okay.
Like
okay.
musical pedagogy, like would be you instructing a piano teacher how to teach their students.
Interesting.
It's really it's really cool. I should ask her more about that. But I think at a certain point, like this was like right after we moved to Colorado. Money was kind of a struggle, even though my dad just got like the new job and stuff. And then she had it was my dad's sister, so her sister-in-law's husband. I guess that would be her brother-in-law, right?
Yeah.
He worked for Sun Microsystems at that time too, and I guess they got to talking, and she just up and was like, you know what, dude, fuck this. I'm sick of like being poor all the time.
Yeah.
So she took a loan from her dad, my grandpa, to like enroll in some classes, and ended up doing well enough that she just like started her career path in that. And
Wow.
that's what she's been doing, and that was a big reason why we're able to like live in the house that we lived in.
Sure.
And stuff.
Where was she wouldn't have already been an empty nester by then. Like
No,
not even close.
I mean, I would have been like 7 or 8 or 9 years old when she like was just getting started with it.
Yeah. And what has Dad done since being at Cornell?
So, with all of that, my dad was basically, he had kind of like the same job, like in a bunch of different colleges. Like his thing was, he didn't become a department head until he was at Ottawa, which was the last one, but he was like the assistant director of like the jazz studies program at UMD in Duluth. That job sucked. He hated that job. And then CU Boulder.
Okay.
where he was doing the same thing. So
Not cheap to live in Boulder.
Oh no, well we didn't live in Boulder.
Oh, okay.
We lived in Westminster.
Okay.
Which was easier.
Right, right.
And he would just drive up to Boulder and then play gigs in Denver and stuff. And he would teach a lot of random classes. He would teach like theory classes. There was like a music history class, a jazz history class, like in one of the big auditoriums where he had like a lot of students, and would direct combos, and he had big bands too.
Nice.
That's the thing that I think that he loves and kind of misses the most, is he is like a big band director kind of a personality.
Wow.
So I grew up like, it would be like a Tuesday or a Wednesday night. Me as like a 10 or 11-year-old, we'd go to like the auditorium. I don't remember what it's called in Boulder, and just like watch my dad get whatever group that he had at the time. We would just like watch his big band.
Wow.
Those are some of my earliest memories of seeing any kind of live music.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool. Like at the time, it was just kind of like, I'm sitting there like, how kids can be restless and like, just like annoying.
You gotta bring
stuff.
Snacks and things for them to do.
You're just like falling asleep in your chair, like while something amazing is happening in front of you. And like, I wish I could go back and, now he doesn't work at a college at all. He just gigs and is working on a lot of his own music. So I kind of miss that. He's not like a composer or conductor or what? He's big time composer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of like, I think that's what he got his doctorate in.
Okay.
Or maybe his master's. I don't know. It's weird.
So he's like the primary stage presence. I mean, obviously all the musicians are amazing and doing their own thing, but he's leading the show, right?
Yeah. He's really good with like reading the room and entertaining a certain venue. He gigs at the Majestic Steakhouse on Monday nights. He plays the piano upstairs there. There's like a downstairs. You've been there.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Tuesday nights, he plays at Cafe Trio.
Oh, wow.
From like 6 to 9.
Okay.
I think they have a pretty decent piano in there. And then a kind of a more recent one is on Thursday nights from like 4 to 7. I think he's been playing at this Restless Spirits Distillery.
I haven't heard of it.
It's I don't know how long they've been there. They're like relatively new compared to these other places. They're really cool. My parents both are like really friendly with the owners of that. In fact, for my mom's birthday a couple weeks ago, they actually had them over for dinner. And so my dad got that somehow.
Nice.
So he's gigging like 3, 4, sometimes like 5 or 6 times a week.
Wow.
That's just like what he does now.
That's awesome.
Sometimes I get to play with him.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Does he, is it challenging or tough for him to, do the booking end of things, or does he have a person do that for him, or?
He just does it all himself.
Okay.
I mean, today we were hanging out and he asked me early this morning if I could do like a duo gig with him this Friday, and I'm going out of town this Friday, so I can't do it. He said he asked like 5 people, and like it's hard to get somebody that's not already playing a gig on a Friday.
Right, so, yeah, I bet.
So I don't know what he's going to do. He's playing at a Sullivan's in Leawood.
Okay.
It's a pretty cool restaurant.
So he piano, does he sing while he plays?
No.
Okay.
That would be pretty, I mean, he can sing.
Sure.
He's got perfect pitch.
Wow.
I have the perfect pitch. Like, I think that kind of absolute pitch is kind of like a hereditary thing.
Uh-huh.
So I have it and he has it. And he actually, like, something that's like crazy about my dad is like, he's like a phenom pianist. I'm not just saying this because like I'm his son.
Right.
Like, he like legitimately is like a freak of nature at the piano.
Wow.
But like early in his college days, he like wasn't that good at it, like from a super young age. His dad played, and his dad like did gigs and stuff like in Northeast Ohio, like where he came from. So that's kind of where he picked it up. But he grew up like with 5 other siblings in a household with not a lot of income. So he wasn't able to like take lessons and stuff. But he knew that he really liked piano. But like when he was like doing his college auditions and stuff, he like wasn't good enough at it to have that be his primary instrument.
Sure.
So he started like as like a vocalist. Like
Okay.
he was like a voice major,
Huh.
which is like wild to think about because he doesn't sing at all. But I think him doing that kind of gave him like this weird background. And like one thing that he's super good at is like doing arrangements for like jazz vocal groups.
Okay.
Like he's incredibly well versed in like voice leading, just like basic composition stuff, but like for like choral groups. So that's one thing that I know that he loves a lot and misses a lot about school is directing like a group of singers.
So when he gigs, it's just instrumental piano music?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say that he knows how to sing. He's got like a really good sensibility for just what makes someone's voice sound good. Even just as far as like timbre, not even just like being on pitch and like in rhythm and stuff. But he doesn't sing. He can sing. He just doesn't.
Sure.
He's a piano man.
So, but when he asks you to gig with him, do you play guitar? I forget what you're.
So I'm like I do bass and guitar and drums.
Okay.
Guitar is my main, like my first love.
Sure.
Bass is kind of the thing that I have the most formal training in.
Oh.
Because he started teaching me bass lessons himself because he plays bass too, just not
Like an upright or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not like as much or as often as I do. And I don't play a lot of upright these days, but when I was like 8 years old, right after we moved to Colorado that first time, he had this little half size upright bass that he got. I don't know where he got it, but and then he had a bass too, so he just started teaching me lessons.
Wow.
Well, at the same time, my mom was teaching me piano lessons.
Dang.
So I have the 7 years of piano lessons, and then I was a shit student, man. I was so bad. I never wanted to practice, and I was complaining about it all the time. And then
it's a hard habit to develop.
And then when my mom started her new career, I got a different teacher somehow, and like didn't put it together until much later that she was like, I can't fucking teach this kid, and like. And still like focus on a new career and stuff.
Right.
It probably wasn't really like that, but anyways, at the same time, my dad was like, teaching me bass, and he's like a badass composer, so he was like composing exercises for me to work on, and like making my own book.
Oh wow.
Basically.
Well, I mean, it's developing that habit, that practice habit is. I mean, it was hard for me when I was young, and I would suspect, as technology advances and attention spans kind of diminish a little bit. I mean, it's hard to see, like, you don't have the foresight to be like, I'm really going to appreciate that I stuck with this in 15 years or 10 years or whatever. Like, it's just, it's like a chore almost. Even if you love your instrument and love music, but you're still just, nothing except for,
a couple of chords,
yeah,
maybe your favorite song or
exactly.
something. But yeah, I totally, I relate with that really on a super deep level, because everyone tells you, when you're like super young, they're like, oh, you're going to be so glad that you did this, or you shouldn't take this for granted. But you still, no 8-year-old kid wants to sit down at the piano and practice the hand exercises and like arpeggios and stuff for like an hour a day, man. Just like nobody wants to do it.
Yeah.
I want to be outside, like kicking a soccer ball around or something.
Yeah.
Or throwing a baseball around in my case.
So when he would, if he's doing a performance on stage with, a big band or a number of musicians, is it original material? Is he doing other people's stuff or some kind of combo? Or
I would say, like, on the gigs that I've been a part of, which there was a point there where I was actually playing with him like pretty often, and then COVID kind of messed some stuff up, as we're all aware.
Mm-hmm.
But like if it was just like a duo, it'd be a pretty good, I want to say like maybe 80 to 20% ratio of just like straight ahead standards, and then the 20% of stuff that he's either done an arrangement of or it's just a flat out original composition.
Wow. Wow.
So most of it is, I don't feel like there's a lot of jazz guys out there that are doing mostly original gigs, because it just takes, like, first of all, like you have to play for like 4 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. It's no small
sometimes it's a lot. You gotta time your breaks and do all this stuff. And, I have so much anxiety about performing jazz gigs in particular, because I'm like really acutely aware that I don't know a lot of standards by heart, like in the same way that my dad does.
Sure.
Or like any of the big time people around here do. So there's always a little bit of anxiety, like, around any kind of a gig, which has been kind of going away a little bit more as I've been getting older and kind of like memorizing stuff. But it gets worse when like if it's me and my dad and then we're in a place where there's other people, like,
sure,
maybe bringing their horns in, or just other musicians that, you know, because my dad's always like, hey, you know, here's like John Blagan is here with his clarinet, like, let's have him like do a couple tunes. Like, you want to call a couple tunes? And he can fucking play whatever. But I'm sitting here, I'm just like, I hope he fucking picks something that I know,
right?
And if I don't know it, then I got to get it up on my phone on my iReal Pro app really quick, and then hope that the changes that are there is what my dad is going to play, because sometimes that doesn't match up. And it's just like, and it's so funny, because I realize that I'm like getting way too in my head, and that most people aren't even going to notice if I like hit a wrong chord somewhere. And if they do, they're not going to give a shit.
Right.
But like, I give a shit.
Yeah. Well,
I can't let go of that, dude.
That's, I think, you know, the giving a shit part is what it all comes down to, because you want it to be good. And I mean, for 33 episodes, I mean, I 5:45. I was already feeling a little nervous and a little bit of anxiety. But,
yeah.
You know, I don't want this to be garbage. Like, you have generously given of your time. You know, I want it to be good content. I want it to be a conversation that we enjoy. So you know, all from episode 1 through 34, like still, without fail, every single time the hour of arrival nears, I feel it, like, you know, percolating a little bit.
Kind of,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's just kind of like, and honestly, I think it's a check and balance. Like, if I didn't care, then the end product would probably be shit, you know? So I think the anxiety is some form of blessing in disguise.
No, I was going to sort of speak to the fact that that's probably, you could do this for like 20 years and that's probably still going to happen, like to some degree, because each show is an opportunity for something new and awesome to happen, or it could be like a train wreck, and it's just like the not knowing. That's like which is like what anxiety is. But I think you're right though, in that it's a good, like, I think anxiety in general is just kind of your brain's way of like trying to protect itself from something.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and just the performative nature of creating any kind of, I guess I'll just use the word content, but whether that's like performing a gig somewhere, or you're recording a song, or you're live streaming a podcast, or maybe you're playing a video game on Twitch, you know, there's always going to, like, if somebody is watching, or they're going to be listening or watching later, then that's a kind of stress that some people just buckle under.
So your dad has this like elite level talent at the piano. He's a badass composer. He has perfect pitch and can sing.
Yeah.
And has a good feel for a room. I mean, what a skill set.
It's remarkable how, like, sometimes if I go out somewhere, and it's just crazy, because I have like this rubric now for like what does a professional performance look like, whether that's a jazz gig or it's like even one of my favorite bands or something. I have like this set of rules that's kind of like subconscious now, because I've seen my dad like do it right and really, really, really care, sometimes way too much about doing something right, to where it's like,
How
you know.
funny to have the most amazing measuring stick that most people probably have little awareness of in terms of
Yeah,
big
dude.
picture, and then to have that measuring stick be your dad. Like, what a trip.
Dude, it is, and most people are like, that must be so awesome that you're, and it is awesome, but it's also complicated.
It could probably can also be too much sometimes.
It's extreme. It's complex because especially just like if I'm like anytime me and him play a gig together, I get anxiety about it.
So if you didn't have plans to go out of town this weekend, would you happily accept the gig invite for Friday or?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I would. I always try to make a point to do it if I can because I like to him it's just it's to him it's just getting the job done.
Right.
But I also know that on some kind of a deeper level, like I'm the one out of the three of us kids who not only is like nearby and kind of in close proximity, but I kind of took the music thing and ran
I was
with
just
it.
gonna say, are our brother and sister musical at all? Or?
They are, but
Oh.
but they don't do it like for work. And
Well,
like,
also like how long will this opportunity be around? I mean,
that's why I try to take every opportunity that I can because I know that it means something to me that I get to go up there and just totally like shred the stage with him like that.
and so when he asks you to gig, it is for guitar. So you'd be playing jazz guitar or
Bass.
upright. Always.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, no, like more recently it's been like electric bass, but the last
Okay.
gig that we played together at this place called Upcycle Piano Works, which is a piano shop. It's really cool. It's off of Main Street. It's like right in between Main and Walnut. Right, it's like Main and 39th,
Okay.
pretty much. If you know where Harling's upstairs used to be, it's like
Yeah.
it's like right next to that.
okay.
So-
Did Harling's
I think
finally
they're
close?
closed, yeah.
I mean, the floor in there was suspect for a while, and then I don't know. Did you ever enter it or exit it via the back?
Like
That escape
eight or 10 years ago,
ladder
maybe.
kind of
Yeah.
situation, not a skip, but a staircase that's
Yeah.
kind of attached to a roof. It's kind of attached to the building.
It was a little sketch town,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, for sure.
But
Fun joint though.
at that, but playing at that gig, he asked me to bring my upright because that was sort of a special thing where, I mean, first of all, it's in a piano shop, so people that came to hear jazz. It's like, and we had the Restless Spirits guys like catering, so there was like an open bar and stuff. But
Nice.
point is, it was more like the people are coming there to hear us. And
Yeah.
that was a trio gig. So that was a gig that I went into, and my dad's such a pro. He had like the sets all written out, and he had it all laid out. He's like, "Oh, we'll probably do this, or we might cut this tune." And I just appreciate that a lot because I'm kind of the type of person that I want to know as much as possible about
Well,
what I'm gonna.
that was my
do,
next question. If he
you know?
asks you to gig, is there any of that? You mentioned so and so with the clarinet and
Yeah.
But do you feel like he's not going to throw me any curveball? Like I got this kind of.
It's so funny because like sometimes he does.
Oh wow!
Sometimes he
does
will.
he know he's doing it?
I think he does on some level, but it's kind of just like because he's obviously had to go through a lot of shit like that, and he probably looks at it like as some kind of a rite of passage,
Character
where-
building.
Yeah, where it's like I would never like to him, it's like I would never like let my son make an idiot out of himself. But also, if he's gonna do this, if he wants to, and maybe he doesn't want to, but like if you're gonna do that, then you need to understand that like sometimes stuff comes up, and then you have to
Right.
kind of figure out what to do with it. So like actually this last gig that I'm talking about is a really good example because he had all of this stuff planned out, and there's like a dude who kind of like hosts, and he gets up there and he like introduced like, oh yeah, and then tonight we're gonna have like the Michael Pagan trio and stuff, but he'll do like a couple of tunes himself with me and the drummer like as his backing band.
It sounds just like a stand-up show.
Yeah,
You got the host and then the
exactly.
opener and then maybe a middle person and then the the
Yeah.
headliner.
Yeah, so it was just this guy, his name is Tim Whitner.
Okay.
Tim Whitmer, really, really, really good pianist. He got up and he called a tune. We did 2 tunes, and one of them was easy, but it was in a key that I had to like transpose in my head as I was playing it. And then another tune that he called, I had no idea what it even was. So I had to like type it in frantically on my iReal Pro app and get the chords up. And then he started playing it. And sometimes when jazz pianists start playing a tune, they'll start like at the last 8 bars of the last section. So they don't start like
Off the top.
You have to figure out where they're starting. And then I'm looking at that and I'm realizing, oh, I don't have I have the right chords, but it's not the right key at all. God. And then I'm having so that's the kind of stuff that I'm just like, I'm in like a world of anxiety.
Yeah. I mean, I feel anxious hearing it because I don't know for how many years I would do this before I had, at least the wherewithal to have a mini conversation in my brain. But whenever something comes up like that, and it's right now and it's on the spot and it depends on you to so you say frantically typing into my phone. If you mistype a letter or hit open the wrong thing, then it sort of.
Oh, dude! I mean, the worst is like when somebody calls a tune and you're typing it in and nothing's coming up, and
no signal.
Or just
nothing exists on it.
Or you're misspelling something, or you're mishearing the person. But the point is, he's doing this, and this is a gig that like there's multiple cameras on us, and they're like live streaming it on Facebook and other places and stuff. So people are watching in person.
You can't be there going fuck,
but also I know. So yeah, that's I'm like, as I'm getting older, I'm trying to kind of take those. I'm trying to like roll with that stuff a little bit better, because at the end of the day, it's just music.
Right.
There's really no reason to freak out.
But you want it to be good.
I'm just the freaking bass player, for Christ. I mean, like, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's stuff like that happens as much as you prepare. And for my dad to like have all of that stuff figured it out, like as much as possible, that's just really professional preparation, where like other guys, they just go up and like, I don't think that, let's take like Rod Fleeman, for example, amazing jazz guitarist around this area. I mean, the guy is like truly like one of the best in the city, like at guitar. I don't think he like has to compile a list of what he's going to play. Like he might, like, depending on the venue, he might have a certain general sense of like, okay, this is like more of like a dive bar, so I can play like more upbeat stuff, or like, he might kind of like do that, but he's not like, okay, I'm gonna play Autumn Leaves, and then I'm gonna do Rain Dolphin Street, and then I'm gonna do yada. He just goes, and it's just kind of like whatever. Actually, me and Dad were playing with Rod Fleeman on one very strange gig. It was a gig at the B&B theaters in Power and Light District. They had some kind of a Harry Potter thing, some event. I don't know if some movie was about to come out that's kind of in that series or whatever. But they needed a band that was going to specifically play like the soundtrack to Harry Potter stuff. So my dad like just went all in and like figured out like he like found charts to all this stuff and like got like a whole thing together. And Rod was on one of those gigs. We did 2 gigs. One of them was with the drummer and the other one was with Rod. At some point, Rod just decided he wanted to like just play some random tune that wasn't like a Harry Potter thing, but we had just played like some kind of a blues-ish thing. And he starts playing this tune and I'm like, shit, it's absolutely wild how you're just supposed to know, man. You're just supposed to like know what the chords are and know this stuff, and like nobody, I don't know. So I struggle with that a lot, and I feel like really, really insecure. Like when I think about performing jazz in general, because stuff like that happens all the time.
I mean, so did you guys pull it off?
Yeah,
Did anybody? Was anybody like, that's not Harry Potter?
No,
just totally unnoticed and fine.
Most people are just like in a better mood if there's music at all.
Yeah,
doesn't even have to be like the most amazing thing ever.
No,
especially because we were
as long
playing
as
a bar.
It's not shitty.
Yeah, people are. I mean, so it was noisy. It's a
Right.
bar. People are like
Helpful.
socializing
Yeah.
and talking to each other. Like if there's music in the background, that helps. And yeah, the person in charge of like planning the event wants to. It has to be really good, but yeah. So that happened, and we did okay. I think Rod knew that I didn't know the song, so he was like I'm sitting like stage left, and my dad is in the middle, and he's over here, and he can tell that I'm sort of not familiar with it. I think maybe I played this song before, but couldn't remember it. So he turns and he's like, yeah, D flat major 7, and we go back to F, and he's like kind of like discreetly like telling me what the chords are to stuff.
Sort of off mic.
Yeah. And then eventually I figured it out, but that's just like, I don't know. So I don't know what's going through his head like when he does that. I wonder if he's like, oh yeah, he probably doesn't know this song, maybe because he's like maybe jazz like really isn't his thing, or I don't know if he's thinking that, or if he's thinking like, who the fuck is this guy?
Right.
This guy doesn't even know how to play such and such.
Where I go, Back to the Future. Are you?
Yeah.
So
yeah, dude.
when he gets on stage to play Johnny Be Good,
Mm-hmm.
and he says something to the band that takes like 2 seconds for him to say, this is in 3/4, something something. Try to keep up with the changes, and just like, you know,
that
many situations that I could envision where like somebody could be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then just go. He's already going.
Dude, I know. And it's like, can you give me a second? So like, can I just like, just get the thing up on my phone so that I don't like, so I don't make us all look bad for, you know.
So what, do you have, you know, so they, obviously there is, tons of music in varying forms in your childhood home, but are there any acquisitions or purchases record-wise or song-wise that you kind of the first things that you obtained on your own and were into?
Yeah. I think about this all the time, man. I'm like a super sentimental person by nature, so yeah, I mean, I just remembered, I think the first album that I wanted to like seek out and get on my own, because we would go to the Front Range Community College and just like rent CDs. We would just like check them out and then have to like take them back.
Sure.
Being in like first and second grade, people were talking a lot about like Blink-182 and about Linkin Park and stuff like that. But this Blink-182 album, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, was like the first one that I got that I just was like, I think it like made me want to play guitar.
Okay.
Because
I'm trying to, I might be wrong on this, but I think maybe there's a Blink-182 song that is like kind of the rink song for the Avalanche, who just won the Stanley Cup this past summer.
I don't know, I'm not a hockey guy really.
Right. No, but it came up, and I want to say anyway. It's like it struck me in that I was like, God, I guess they have been around for a time.
Yeah.
But so
For a minute, dude.
You think you want to get this record of theirs, and maybe it's the one that made you want to play guitar.
I don't know if it. I mean, it definitely made me want to play guitar, but I don't think that it, like, because I'm not super into like pop punk, but I liked it because other people at school were talking about it. I liked hearing the guitar sounds. Just like a distorted guitar power chord was something that I hadn't really heard before, and it just kind of filled my 9-year-old brain up with like this sense of ecstasy that's like, oh, I want to listen to this again and again and again and again. And Tom's voice on like all the songs that Tom sang on, it was just so catchy, man. It just did everything that like pop punk is supposed to do.
They had
to like get you addicted to
They had
it.
more than one vocalist.
Yeah,
because do the lead.
because Tom will like sing songs, and then their bass player Mark Hoppus sings. It's a pretty even split of like Tom doing vocals on songs and then Mark doing vocals on the other songs.
Are they pretty wildly different?
Yeah, I mean, their voices are very different from each other.
Okay,
so it works really well.
Nice.
And so that was like, I have kind of a funny backstory to that album too. There's a lot of bad words on it, a lot of stuff that isn't appropriate for a 9-year-old to listen to. Well, when I first got it though, it was from like from a community college, so they had just like all edited stuff.
The Walmart version.
Basically.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because we actually did go to not Walmart, but like Best Buy or something, and my mom was like, "You're like renting this CD all the time. I'm sick of like going back and like you having to check it back out and us being late on returning it. So why don't I just like buy it for you?" She knew there were like bad words in it,
Sure.
but I told her like, "Well, they like bleep out the bad words and stuff." I just thought that's how all music was.
Right.
It didn't occur to me that like they like edited that after the fact. So she bought me the album and it was like the uncut one.
Nice.
And then we were like listening to it together, like on like the boombox in the kitchen. And it gets to it gets to the F-bombs and I was like, oh my God, my mom thinks that I like pulled a fast one on her because he's like dropping all these F-bombs now. And she was like pissed off.
Was she?
She was mad. I don't think she was mad at me. She was just like, oh my God, I'm like fucking with my kid's head right now.
Right.
I'm a shitty mom.
Funny.
So that was, yeah, that would be one. And then hearing Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park for the first time was kind of the CD that made me fall in love with like a heavy guitar sound.
Sure.
That kind of set the stage for like even right now.
Yeah.
I'll go back and listen to it.
What? How did you hear it for the first time? Did a buddy have it, or
I want to say it was really popular, not just like where I went to school, but we lived in a cul-de-sac,
Okay.
and there were kids. We had friends across the street. There was this one kid. He was like my sister's age. My sister's 2 years older than me, and then there was another kid like in between houses, and he was like 1 year older than me. So it was like hanging out with those are the closest thing that I ever had to like older brothers.
Sure.
So I learned a lot of music and just a lot of other pop culture stuff through hanging out with them. And definitely like Linkin Park just being on the boombox in one of their garages was like, oh dude, what is this? This is so tight. You know.
That's cool. So Blink-182, Linkin Park, anybody else in that same time frame-ish?
So those were like the first big ones. And then I started paying attention to like what was on the radio.
Sure.
A lot. So System of a Down came into the fold at some point. I remember this one kid who was not the kid that was 2 years older than me, but 1 year older. He was like, "You guys, I found this new band. They're better than like all
That's
of it."
So exciting.
And then we listened to Chop Suey or something for the first time, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" It's like,
Mom, we gotta go to Best Buy.
it's got it was like one of those things. And then my parents ended up like my parents still like that stuff because
Nice.
they just remember it like making us happy, but they remember it fondly too.
That's cool.
Which is like kind of a funny like after effect. But yeah, System of a Down, fucking bands like Trapped, or like
Okay.
just some stuff that's like bad now. But I also discovered some really good stuff. Like Chevelle was a band that, dude, just I think The Red being on the radio and like Send the Pain Below and songs like that. The sound of the guitars. Like I love Pete's voice. He's always been like one of my favorite singers, but it was just taking a guitar and like tuning it to drop B and just like chugging on stuff. Before I even knew that, because I knew how to play guitar, but I had no concept that like you could like tune the strings different.
Right.
So but I knew I had perfect pitch too, so I could tell what the notes are, and I was like trying to play these songs in standard tuning.
Oh, funny.
And just like how do they get it to sound like that? I
Right.
just like didn't get it, which was a whole nother thing. But yeah, man, I don't know. So I have a big background in what a lot of people would just call like radio butt rock stuff.
Okay.
But
Well, I want to get into your list, but I want to take a quick break, use the restroom, check on dogs. Do you need anything?
I'm good, man.
I'll be
I'm
back.
good.
Okay. So perfect transition. Sometimes people will just give me one record. Sometimes people give me a huge list. But if it's more than one, I typically like to go chronologically and release.
Yeah.
So this type of thinking could do us in. Chevelle, 2004. They've been. What year were you born?
91.
90. Okay, so they've been around since 95.
Yeah.
I think this is record 3 out of 9 for them.
Yes.
And was this the one that put them on your radar, or did you know of their first two before this one? Or
I knew of the one before, which was Wonder What's Next. That was the one that, like, I'm trying to remember the first Chevelle song I ever heard. I think it was Send the Pain Below.
Okay.
So that was like the record that launched them into like huge success. A lot of people don't even know about their first record, Point Number One, because they were on like a super small, like a Christian label.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thought they were a Christian band because they were on this label, and they like weren't at all.
I feel like I did see, I think it was them, where, just a couple of quotes from reviews, and one of the reviews was a Christian publication.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's curious, but
Yeah, so I knew who they were, but this type of thinking had the clincher on it.
the opener, and immediately I'm like, dude, sounds like Maynard.
Yeah,
I mean,
they get that so much. They still get it.
I saw that, and it made me feel a little silly for thinking that, but it's kind of unavoidable.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Pete's voice kind of has like, he gets like really aggressive. Like there's like a lot of screaming and like a lot of yelling and stuff, especially on that record. But he definitely still has like this kind of like delicateness.
Yes, for sure.
That's very reminiscent of most like all Tool stuff,
Yeah.
especially Tool's like later stuff. So
Right.
But no, something about that album, the way that the guitars sound and are produced, the fact that they're already like a band that like tuned everything in drop B.
Which does drop B mean the same thing as B flat?
No.
Okay.
So they went a half step lower.
Okay.
For this type of thinking, and most people don't. It's not really like a big deal to most people, but for me, it's like I can tell what key something is in right when I listen to it, even like when I was like a young child and stuff. So I knew like, oh, dude, they went even lower like on this one. And just hearing that and songs like Vitamin R, Still Running, you had just like, so the whole album is just like, it just captured, it was just like everything I wanted to hear, everything I didn't even know that I wanted to hear in music.
Right.
Like all coming together in this thing.
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. And I just like became like obsessed.
Nice.
I would listen to this record so freaking much. And then
Did you get a copy of it on CD or?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I've probably bought it like maybe 3 or 4 times
Nice.
over the course of my life and stuff. And had it on my it wasn't an iPod, it was like a, oh man, I can't even remember what it's called. Some kind of MP3 player that
Sure.
it's escaping me what it was.
I remember there being
Like a Zune? Is it like called a Zune?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Zune.
I
right?
think you're right.
I had
Yeah.
one of those, and yeah, dude. But at a certain point in 2000, I guess it was 2004. So like right when this album came out, my parents basically dropped the bomb on us. They're like, "Hey, we're moving to Kansas City. We're moving away from Colorado," and that sucked so bad.
Did it?
That was so just like depressing, like moving away from all your friends and like,
So you're like
It-
13?
yeah, I think moving anywhere when you're 13 is probably pretty hard, because we actually moved out of like a duplex into a house like across school districts, so that was hard. And now we're having to move like all the way over here. So I don't know, that was like a really hard time, just a really hard transition. And I would listen to that album and like cling to it for like
Sure.
emotional support.
Yeah.
So it was like my emotional support album,
Yeah.
kind of too. And I kept, I still love it, man. I like when I listen to it now. Whenever I drive to Colorado and back, just doing that drive and putting that record on, it like transports me back to like 17 years ago now.
That's amazing.
Of just, yeah.
The
So,
power of music.
yeah, that's just a big essence of like my coming into being a teenager,
Sure.
and just dealing with a lot of that kind of stuff, man. That's one of those records that like was there and still holds up.
So my first note was about eventually I felt silly writing it down, but the hearing the Tool sound.
Yeah.
But my second note, and it was the very first thing you touched on, very clean and crisp production and a very likable tone.
Yep.
Which, when I was, I don't know, your age, maybe a little older, I don't know that I would have had an ear for that. I would have either been this is for me or it's not.
Yeah.
And I don't think about it on any level other than that. But I mean, there's something really admirable for my personal taste when there is a very clean tone and it's just crisp, and it's got it feels like they gave a shit, right?
Yes.
And when they went into it's one thing to write a song, it's another thing to write a song and be part of a band, and whether he wrote the song or you wrote the song, but you're gonna write this, you're gonna flesh this out together, and here's the end product. It's another thing to like go in the studio and press record and be like,
do it.
Okay, we put the meat and potatoes down, but let's really find where we want this to be, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's I want to say it was Michael Basquette was the producer.
I think you're right
for that one, Michael Elvis Basquette, and I think to me what you're describing is just the importance of having a person who is like not in the band, who can like really look at it objectively and figure out like what a certain song needs or what kind of a tone we should be going for.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a band, and I mean in their case, like Pete he's the singer and the guitarist, and they don't have another guitarist even. He's so like there's got to be some kind of tunnel vision going on there that it's like, I'm sure they made a lot of the production calls, but having an actual producer, like you really need that.
Well, and I think lots of people have gone the route of having a band member be the person, and then like maybe everybody winds up liking the end product anyway, but you never know.
You're taking a gamble.
Yeah, you never know what direction it could have gone or might have gone if you would have had a person that's, one step removed from the creation process.
Right. And it's scary on the other hand of it too, because you could work with a dude for the first time and he could mess your shit up. You know? Like you really don't know. Even if he has like a bunch of accolades, he or she,
right.
You just don't know if it's going to work well with you. And so I guess making a record is taking a risk, either like no matter how you slice it.
Right. But I mean, what a funny sort of gamble to put yourself in, because you could have all the confidence in the world in, okay, this is the direction, and this is the sound, and this is, and then you hand it off and somebody gives you feedback or makes suggestions, and then maybe you wind up questioning what you were just so confident about. And so which way do you lean?
Yeah. Or potentially worse.
Right.
You think, well, fuck, this person doesn't know, like
this dude doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So,
besides Tool, Helmet and The Cure listed as primary influences.
Yes.
I think I can see The Cure in a kind of a long shot kind of way, but I'm not really familiar with Helmet at all. Are they somebody that you've been into?
Well, when you say Helmet and The Cure, and there's kind of this kind of goes back to like sort of like two aspects of their music. They can be super like heavy and kind of like auditorily like crushing, but then they have parts that are really like delicate. There's a certain delicacy to it. I think Helmet is like the heavy part, and The Cure would be like
Okay.
kind of the more of like the softer side
Yeah.
to it. Helmet's kind of like Tool. I don't know a lot of their stuff, but they're one of those bands that like are, some people might call them like a Tool ripoff, like kind of in the same way that Chevelle is, but I'm not super familiar with them.
The only thing I could tell you is that I have at one point been like, they have a fan base.
Yeah,
like
no, they're not small potatoes, man.
Right.
They're a big band. Yeah, The Cure is an interesting one. I haven't really. I mean, I guess they maybe like lyrically, because Pete's lyrics are pretty out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Also, the teeniest, tiniest bit of tone, but also I think there's maybe like an emotional piece.
Yeah.
That I had somebody do a Cure record, and I mean, they're much broader, than of a scope in their discography and their history than I would have suspected prior. But Still Running, I think, kicks off with a clip from Sam Kinison.
Yes.
Which I don't know if you're familiar, but he was like super duper wild man pioneer in the stand-up world in the early to mid 80s, and his whole thing was like screaming,
like yelling
at
people.
And like but it was funny, and people dug it, and it really pushed the needle for stand-up, and just really fascinating for somebody that wants to go to these places in terms of the way stuff sounds and the vocals and kind of an extreme, and to throw him in there fits perfectly.
Right at the beginning of that song, man.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I didn't know that's what that was, actually.
So, man, it's in a utopian view, you would love for anybody that's ever really taken the plunge into the world of music to just come out the other side being successful and wealthy. But apparently, $6 million in album sales up at the time of this one came out, or maybe shortly after it was out. But they apparently hadn't been paid at all.
They got, which unfortunately this is not uncommon, I guess, but they were one of those bands that got screwed.
Yeah, they signed a bad contract with Epic, I think.
Dude, they still talk about it these days. I mean, the album that they just came out with, I think their drummer Sam was doing some interviews where he was like, there might be another album after this, but we don't know, because this is like that was like the last one. And he still talks about like, dude, we sold this many albums and we have this much money. Yeah. And it's just,
I mean, plenty of times I've looked up, and it's like, whoever, a rapper, a band, whoever it is, signs like a 10-year deal.
Yeah.
And year 9, they're like, hey, like, this next record I want to put out, I don't want to be a part of this anymore.
Yeah.
So can we just call it good? And most of the time it seems like they're like, no,
you have to. Yeah. You signed up for this.
Yeah. And it's just like, man,
it sucks.
So many people that either didn't have the wherewithal to, have something looked at by a lawyer, or didn't have the resources, or whatever the case may be. Because, I mean, we all are in a position where we want to do a thing, and you're standing in the way. You're the one that can make it happen.
Yeah.
So if you tell me I need to sign this piece of paper right here, of course I'm going to sign it, because we're going to make a record deal.
Yeah.
How amazing.
I mean, the funding. You need all of that backing, man. That's just the way that it was. I mean, it's still like a lot like that today, even though things are getting a little bit more independent, which is good. But there's also a kind of a complication of now there is just so much music.
Right.
It's just super saturated. But anyway, it's one thing that I think is kind of funny is just the whole idea that like these bands get totally screwed on these record deals. Like sometimes they're like 360 deals where like they really like get nothing at the end of the day. And I just think like there's sometimes these bands like make songs about how shitty the music industry is.
Right.
Like I think the song Wonder What's Next is kind of like an indictment of like it's if you read the lyrics, it's basically Pete saying like, are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
What's next, dude?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and so you see something like this record's almost selling 100,000 copies in its first week.
Yeah.
And I mean, as a completely uninformed person, you go, well, where's all the money going?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not going to them, there's only so many places it can be going. So,
Yeah.
and then you know, I've seen things where similar kind of deal. Somebody's nearing the end, and they've learned since they signed that the 14%
Yeah.
that they're getting is pretty shitty, and it's like, how would you ever know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, obviously, it doesn't take a mathematician to be like, well, 14% sounds like garbage.
Yeah, but I mean, the way that it's all about how it's presented too. Because
100%.
Because these record labels, like, it's tricky, man. They know what they're doing, but they probably offer other stuff. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it has to be in the way that it's presented to you.
Yeah.
You know, that's how they're able to like to like con these bands basically into these super shitty deals.
So, and this is maybe one of the most bitter pills to swallow in just a very brief reading about this, but there was like very palpable pressure from the label for this record to outsell its previous one.
Yeah.
And it was like, in no uncertain words, it was like, get in there and make a record. And so they went into the studio with nothing.
Yeah.
And it took them 5 months to write. I think they were supposed to write it in 4, but they got it done in 5. And
yeah,
I can just imagine being like, this isn't what we signed up for. This wasn't how we should be the ones saying, hey, we've got a record for you. Are you ready to book us time and fly us out and have a person and the meals taken care of?
Yeah,
but instead it's like,
stuff.
fuck, we got to go in there and do this thing. And
yeah,
I mean, it's kind of a wonder that a decent record, you know, it came out of, you know.
Dude, this reminds me of Meshuggah, one of my favorite bands ever. I'm actually going to see them on Friday in St. Paul.
Nice.
But they were in a really bad record deal with, I don't know who the label was, but they were so sick of it that they were like, well, we have one more album that we have to do to fulfill our contract, and then we can not renew it and say peace out, whatever label it was. And they just said, let's fuck it, dude. Let's just make some bullshit.
Right. Hey,
let's make something
piece of dog shit.
Let's make something
go.
that we don't even have to work on at all. And they started doing it, and that album turned into Catch 33, which is one of their best fucking albums, dude. I don't know if you're familiar, but that's like an album that's basically an entire song.
Oh, wow.
Kind of like chopped up into little
vignettes or something.
Yeah, I mean, if you just press play, it sounds like an entire song.
Wow.
That's like 50 minutes long.
I mean,
or whatever.
Something good came out of it.
It ended up being, and there were some really, it was pretty groundbreaking too, because their drummer has been like one of the forefront people in like drum programming software.
Okay.
Like he worked with a company called TuneTrack. I think they were called TuneTrack at that time, to make a plugin called Drum Kit from Hell that I think Devin Townsend was the first guy to use it and program his own drums on the Ziltoid album. And then they used it for Catch 33. So like their drummer, Thomas, like he's using this software that he helped develop, but he didn't play any of the parts himself. So
wow.
They were able to program all this stuff and then record guitars over it. And then, but it's funny because in interviews he talks about, like, dude, we are so sick of this freaking label. They just want one more album. We're just going to do the most absolute throwaway bullshit record ever. And they started working on it, and surprise, it's like they cannot suck even if they try. You know, but it really so that's like that's funny in itself, but it really speaks to the larger issue that like these bands, even a band like Meshuggah and bands like Chevelle and Seven Dust is one. Seven Dust struggled so freaking much. I mean, they have like a whole album that's basically like fuck you to their record label that the record label then put out.
Right. That's funny.
It's crazy.
So having started with that Tool feeling from track one, I didn't realize it until I came across this quote, but, you know, I was still like pretty embedded in classic rock land when Tool put out, what was their first record called?
Opiate EP?
Yeah. No, the one that had Sober.
Oh, Undertow.
Undertow.
Yeah.
And it was like, I have never in my wildest dreams envisioned this sound.
Yeah.
Like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
And the video, MTV was still, the video was wild
Weird.
for the time. I mean, still is really wild.
Yeah.
But I went out and bought that record on cassette. Like, just, this is crazy. And I didn't, I don't know if I didn't make the effort to get into the whole thing, or if I tried and it didn't work, but either way, Tool kind of got put on the back burner, and then it was years later before I had to listen to any of their other stuff. And it's like they went to a place that's like, impeccable and very respectful and very admirable. Obviously, they cultivated a major following.
Yeah.
But nothing, I don't think, that they have written since, and nothing they will ever write will have the profound impact on me that Sober did.
Yeah.
I mean, and so I came across this quote, and it's just interesting. I don't have a dog in the race.
Yeah, yeah.
But this dude, Johnny Loftus from AllMusic, said, he called the record flatly mixed, which I didn't find. When I saw the quote, it was early in my listen, and then by the end of the record, I was like, I don't think I agree with that statement. But flatly mixed, lost in depression, and obsessed with rewriting Sober for a new generation of lank-haired misunderstoods. And I was like, yikes. That's a little harsh for the
Wait,
capital.
is that about
It's about the whole record.
Oh, about Undertow?
No, about
the Chevelle record.
This type of thinking.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
and I will say, the only part I agree with is that when I do hear the Tool similarities in these tracks, it does take me to the sound of the vocals in Sober.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
big time.
think that there was any intention on that part, but there is kind of an almost visible path.
It's an extremely obvious, very clear influence,
right?
I think, and I can't imagine that they get it all the time. I don't think they're like, if you talk to Pete or Sam, like they wouldn't be like, what are you talking about?
No.
They get it, man.
I found a little bit of irony in Panic Prone had almost like a calming effect to it, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
And then, back on the tone stays clean and remarkable across the whole record. And really kind of a wild card to have Bend the Bracket as your closer with like this acoustic feel to it.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of throw the whole thing away and here's how we're going to end.
So for the first, I don't think the first album had a acoustic outro, but Wonder What's Next has an acoustic outro.
Okay.
And then This Type of Thinking. So I think that was just kind of a thing. And then I guess it only lasted for 2 albums, because everything after that is, like on Venus Sarah, the last song is not an acoustic track. So, well, but yeah, it's just kind of, it's nice. I think it's nice.
I do too.
I think it's a really good closer.
Me too.
It's really depressing. The whole album is like I don't think what the lyrical content is about is necessarily talking about depression and stuff, but it's definitely not a happy album.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that doesn't take away from its ability to provide joy for the listener. I mean, it's
yeah.
It's remarkable for sure. So 2 years later, 2006, 10,000 Days, which was this. Have they twice had a 10-year gap between records?
No,
No,
because
just once?
we had Lateralis in 2001.
Okay.
And then Anima was 96. So 96, 2001, then 2006.
Okay. And then after that?
That was the big 13-year gap.
Okay. That's what it was. That's
Yeah.
what it was. But, for this record, I mean, again, going back to Undertow and like this, wow, kind of, holy, I didn't know that existed in the world to 2006.
Yeah.
That they have become a thing. They are kind of a massive entity in terms of
They've transcended all of the things that brought them so much critical acclaim, like on the EP and then on Undertow. Now, then you have Anima, and that's already like a huge, like they're doing a whole bunch of new stuff there.
which I had a dude who picked a couple Tool records. One was 10,000 Days. One was, and I think the pronunciation is Anima.
Yeah,
Which-
I'm probably saying
No, which is there's, and I bring it up because they do a lot of very clever kind of small things, and that title is a combination of anima, which is Carl Jung psychology kind of term or idea for the soul,
Yeah.
and then enema, the cleanser for your back door.
I mean, you listen to the title track of the song.
Yeah.
It's like,
Anyway,
see you down in Arizona Bay.
right. So just when somebody, especially when it comes to words and wordsmithing and that's my wheelhouse for being a complete dork. So
That's cool.
So when somebody takes two very polar opposite sorts of concepts and kind of makes their own idea / word out of them, and
Yeah.
by the way, I'm gonna call my record this.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So how did Tool land in your lap?
It's really funny. I always think back to this as kind of like the time that like the floodgates began to sort of open up as far as me getting into like more progressive and kind of like zany, crazy stuff. Just stuff that like you wouldn't hear like on the radio. Which
Right.
I mean, Tool is like gets a lot of radio playing stuff, but they're one of those bands that, or they are the band really that is, I mean, they're still like winning Grammys and stuff, but they also have like their last album, there's not a song on there that's like less than 10 minutes. They're like all double digit, super involved, crazy songs. So
And pretty calculated. They've got a calculated feel.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
they're jamming, but it's not directionless, right?
Yeah.
It's all smart. I mean, going back to both your parents being and getting doctorates from Cornell, this is smart people shit. right?
they're that's some big brain shit right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So I remember I was in like Target. Yeah, I was in Target with my sister, and I wanted to get some CDs. And I was really only interested in stuff that sounded like what I was already listening to. Like I wanted to get more stuff that sounded like System of a Down, or more stuff that sounded like Chevelle. I just wanted that super polished radio rock, heavy guitar kind of a sound. I was like, let me hear some bands like that. I knew about 3 Days Grace. They were one of the bands that I kind of was into at the same time that I was like getting into music in general. So they had an album that just came out. It's called 1X, and I think like my mom or somebody was like, "Oh, okay, you can get another album too or whatever." So I got that one, and then I knew from my sister that like Tool was like a big band, and I always heard of them, but I didn't.
Hadn't taken the plunge
Yeah,
yet.
I didn't know. So I was like, "Oh, well, they just came out with a new album too. I think I'm gonna get that." And so I was listening to the 3 Days Grace album, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. It's like exactly what I want. Dude, when I put on 10,000 Days and they started playing Vicarious, and I'm like looking at the track list, and like half of it's like shit that I can't even pronounce. and here's a track that's like 11 minutes, and then here's another one that's like 11 minutes, and just I was like, what? And so I started listening to Vicarious, and I didn't take to it at first because it was not getting to the point fast enough.
Complete
it was,
opposite effect for me, because I feel like with a number of tracks on this record, they put out an intro that has a vibe that is a hook for me.
Yeah,
and like I'm into that, and then they go the directions that they want to go.
Yeah,
and it's up to me whether I want to stay along for the ride.
But, yeah, man.
But anyway, go ahead.
No, so I was expecting. I went into it. I shouldn't have expected anything really, but I was just kind of. I think I had this set of expectations because I knew that they had a lot of radio play. Like on the same stations that I was like hearing all of these other songs. So I was like, well, Tool was like this huge band. I thought they were going to be like this. And I just didn't get it.
So did you stick with it, or did you check out for a minute?
I stuck with it, but it was a very slow, like, I remember one thing that is crazy. Like the way that Maynard sings in Vicarious, he almost has kind of like a whisper to it, like in the verses and stuff. And so I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to having a strain to like hear like the voice and having the guitar and the drums be like take more up of the sonic real estate in a track, I guess.
I like that. I'm going to steal it and give you no credit for it.
Okay. Well, I don't think I came up with it on my own. Right. So, and then just like going through it and then like listening to the pot, and how he comes out the gate, like it starts with him singing like in that super high register. I remember, like, I shit you not, I was like, oh, they have two vocalists. That's cool. No, it's the same fucking guy, man.
Wow.
I thought like
you're like this is just like
oh, so who's singing what?
This is just like was it Chevelle? They got
Blink-182.
Blink-182.
Yeah,
Mark
and Tom.
songs and Tom songs.
Yeah, so I didn't know. I just didn't know, but eventually, started listening to it more. Even the weird interludes with stuff that
which there's no shortage of.
Yeah, I mean, but now it's like I look at that all as like essential part. Like I think there's a lot of stuff that kind of seems like fluff to some people, but I'm definitely like an album person. And 100%. I'm super, super album oriented. I think you
God bless you for being the age that you are and being that.
Dude, list. I mean, the track list is the track list for a reason, man.
Yeah.
There's like
and
a certain
it's in the
flow to
sequence
this thing.
that it's in for a reason.
Exactly. The programming of it all, man.
Yeah.
So,
well, a record like this, you say fluff. To me, it's kind of like a galaxy. Like there's little planets and black holes and solar systems and clusters of things, and it's I don't know how it's all related, but it's all related. And even if that only means because it's all part of this record. Yeah. But and this is like of all the tiny little tidbits I've uncovered through 34 episodes, this is maybe still my favorite. But I'm also like a hippie at heart and a dork. So the album title's thought to refer to the orbital period of Saturn. And Maynard is quoted as saying, "The time in your 28th, 29th year when you're presented the opportunity to transform from whatever your hangups were before to let the light of knowledge and experience lighten your load and let go of old patterns and embrace a new life." I'm just like,
damn, he said that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, that's an a year mark that recently happened for you.
I
mean, so does any of that resonate at all? Or
It does in a big way. I didn't know that he said that, though. Because as you're probably aware, that's also around the length of time that from the time that his mom got sick to when she passed away was about 10,000 days.
No way.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No, I did not.
Dude,
I don't even think I knew that she had passed away.
Well, I don't know what she was sick with. I don't know if she had Alzheimer's or something. It was bad.
Oh, wait a second. Time out. Was she like Christian scientist and couldn't reach out for medical help because of her, or I might be confusing people.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
But she was sick to the point of like being bedridden or something for like she got, I don't know what she had, but she got her diagnosis and then finally passed away, and it was about 27, 28 years of being like that. So
Okay, yeah, I'm thinking of a different story. That's so long to have a thing.
That's where the name 10,000 Days comes from, and that's the song Wings for Marie Part 1, and then Part 2, Wings for Marie Part 2, 10,000 Days. That Marie, like Judith Marie in that song, that's his mom's first and middle name.
Okay, that's very sweet.
So the whole thing is like a tribute to his mom.
Nice.
Basically. And it's also a big reason that I don't think they play that song live very much, because he just like can't handle it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're as an outfit, and I suspect that a good amount of this trickles down to the others from him, but they're pretty private people.
Yeah.
Like here we are, you know, we make records and we put them out for you to enjoy, and we do shows.
Yep.
And that's kind of it. The rest of it.
And then they go away and they live their lives.
Yeah.
Like Maynard does his winery thing in Arizona, and Justin, I guess. Justin he's not even an American citizen. I think.
Oh, for real?
He like lives in the UK somewhere. So
Okay.
And then Danny Carey is like around here. You know that he's like from Paola, Kansas.
I think I did know that.
And
yeah.
he went to UMKC and studied with Doug Arwater, who like was the drum teacher for the drummer that I was in a band with when I was in high school. He's a big Jayhawks fan.
Rock chalk. 4-0.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he'll wear his Jayhawks jersey, basketball jersey, when he plays and stuff. So, and then Adam Jones has like lived in LA probably like his whole life. And Adam Jones is like he does. Like I think he worked on the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park.
Oh wow,
like, he's like a film guy.
Cool.
He like helped design like all of their music videos, and he's made like the stop motion animation stuff. That's like all.
I wonder if he was involved with the video for Sober.
Oh, probably.
Yeah,
most definitely, dude.
Man, see, like. I love that when you find out that this world-class musician that is in this amazing band that has hundreds of thousands of fans has like a side, you know, another hobby.
Yeah,
it's not music, and it's like that's a very human thing to like.
Yeah,
I'm interested in a little bit of this and a lot of that, and sometimes I dabble over here, and
yeah.
So you don't have to be. You know, public facing and put your every thought and experience on social media. But when I see something, especially for a private individual, I see a little something like that. I'm like, that's really cool. I dig that.
Yeah, man.
So in your 28th, 29th year, did you have some kind of growth or epiphany, or maybe it's still?
I think it might still be in the works, but I mean, in the last kind of like 3-ish years. So I guess that kind of the timeline is right. Getting this thing with being able to work at Chapter 2 and just help develop that is a career opportunity that I always hoped for, but like it's like actually happening. So
and for those that don't know, Chapter 2 Recording
is a music production studio that I work out of in Lenexa, Kansas. It started in Breckenridge, Colorado, and I came to know the owner through his nephew's friend, which was a mutual friend of mine, and then we just kind of got to talking, and then he needed another engineer, and at the same time wanted to move shop back to the Kansas City area, so I kind of stepped in, and I just, you know, we got on really good right away, and I just took it and ran with it.
And this is the thing that you are still active in, and does generate some source of income for you, or
I mean it's my only job right now.
Yeah.
So
my only other note was Right in 2 has always had this like kind of, I can't quite put a finger on it, but this fascinating curiosity about it, and also great percussion. I mean, for everything that a lot of Tool songs, you know, the untrained ear like, oh shit, there's I don't know, is that a double bass you know, but when you throw in little intricacies like that, I'm always like, that was nice.
It's a really cool one because the whole thing is in 11, but it gets faster after they kind of get to this bridge section. They kind of picks up the pace.
When you say the whole thing is in 11, what does that mean?
1, 2, 3, 4. It's in like 11/8, I guess.
That's the signature?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a signature that is often visited by.
It's not. It's kind of messed up, but part of the skill with them is they can make something in like 11/8 or something crazy, but have it sound so natural that you don't even really think about it.
Right, until you maybe sit down and try to do it yourself.
Play it on drums.
And
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Or you're setting your metronome and you're wondering like why
this thing's. I just got this. Yeah. It's broken.
Yeah, man. So
I love
that song.
Yeah, it's a good one. So we go from Illinois to LA to Raleigh, North Carolina in 2009. The Great Misdirect, Between the Buried and Me. What a fucking band name.
My favorite band and my favorite album ever. I
This
love
one?
those guys so much. Yes.
Nice.
Yes. They are the best. I don't even know where to start with these guys, man. I mean, like it's so Tool is kind of like the bridge band for me from the stuff that I grew up on, like their radio rock hit stuff. And then we had Tool, and then Between the Buried and Me is kind of where I've ended up.
Okay.
Because they do not give a shit about in a good way. They don't like their songs have structure and stuff. They started out as like a hardcore band, like kind of a deathcore band, really. Like their old stuff is like really gritty and heavy and just like even the production is like kind of like they've gotten the sound of their records has improved like a lot over the years. If you go listen to their early stuff, it's very sophomoric sounding.
They put out a remix of this.
They've been putting out remixes of like all of their old stuff.
Okay. Do you dive in when that stuff comes out and compare, take some notes?
Yeah, because like the audio engineer in me is like super
100%.
fascinated with that stuff, obviously, but with them it's like I try not to get too wrapped up in the technicalities of like how, I mean, with some stuff, it's honestly, I prefer the originals over like a lot of the remixes because my ears are just used to that.
No, that's where the relationship begins with the record or the CD.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not, I mean, I would never say that the remixes are bad or anything because they're not. They're like really, really good. It's everything like the remix remaster of Alaska is so much more in line with how I think they wanted it to sound from the outset that it's a really good thing. I'm definitely for like remixing old stuff. Just to keep it fresh, you know.
Now typically, it's tough. I mean, it's not tough. It's very easy. It's great. Like we should feel blessed that we have access to music the way we have access to, and you're not dependent upon a ride from mom to Best Buy and $20 in your pocket to get a CD. But that does come with the liner notes and the cover art and the credits and a lot of that. I don't think we're aware of it at least at a young age, but that's a part of the relationship for an album-oriented person.
Dude,
right?
Absolutely.
So what I usually do is, you tell me your record, and then sometimes it's hard to find
that stuff,
a digital, the way it came out.
Yeah.
Because everybody 20th anniversary and here's 56 bonus tracks. And so I usually want to look elsewhere to make sure. And I actually accidentally started with the remix from, I think, 2019.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing I'm like, wait a second. So I went back. But all of that prevented me from a normal sort of box check exercise, which was to take a quick glance at how long is the track listing and what are we looking at for running time. I didn't do those because I was expecting going from Chevelle to Tool to sort of stay on that path. And I hit play and track one is like really chill. And I was like, what? And so I was like, this is a totally unexpected vibe. And there is no gap between the end of track 1 and the beginning of track 2, and track 2 wastes 0 seconds.
Oh, you get right into it.
Right into the throaty. What I think death metal is a generic.
I would call it Tommy's heavy vocals kind of leaning more towards a death metal sound.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe like hardcore-ish kind of.
So I was like, whoa, holy, like you've already thrown me off, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But okay, now I know what this song is about until it changes, like 2 or 3 significant times.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if I need a tracking device to kind of figure out where we're at.
Yeah, man.
Wild stuff.
They take you for a ride, man. They're really zany. That's actually not. It's my favorite album of theirs. It's a lot of people's favorite, but I wouldn't call it a good one to start with if you're trying to get a good sense for who they really are and how they've evolved like over the years, I guess.
Well, all of these surprises made it so that I was maybe halfway through track 3 before I noticed that this is a 6-track record that's an hour long.
Right.
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. Yep.
But the Anatomy of cover album.
Yeah.
Metallica, King Crimson, Pantera, Faith No More, Queen, Pink Floyd, Earth Crisis, Counting Crows, Soundgarden.
It's just them having fun, man.
That's quite the list. I mean, that's not all one alley of music. That's you're kind of. Do you like it? Is it good stuff? Or
yeah. Actually, the Counting Crows bit is really funny. Well, not funny, but it's funny that they got their band name from a Counting Crows lyric.
No way.
And for them to, I mean, it's not. They don't sound like Counting Crows at all.
No.
I don't even know. Somebody in the band really likes Counting Crows. And they just decided, like, they heard this.
Right.
I don't even know what song it is. I think the line is something 50,000 feet between the buried and me.
Okay.
So it's just like it's kind of a chilling, like to me, like what it means is just kind of an indictment, like, of our own mortality, I guess. You know what I mean?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Like, we have all of these other dressed up nice ways of saying, hey, the opportunities to gig with your dad might not come along. An 8-year-old you isn't going to know that these piano lessons are going to pay off one day, et cetera, et cetera. But then when you literally just put the phrase between me and the buried, because obviously everybody dies. Yeah. And that's what we in this culture do, is we bury our dead ones. And it's like, it's only a moment before it's somebody else in charge of putting you in the ground.
Dude, it just like punches you in the gut.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, completely.
You know? So that's it's kind of a long name.
So it's not clumsy. It's got a ring to it, and it kind of comes off the tongue.
Yeah, every part of it is totally necessary.
Yep.
You know.
So we got the wild transition from Mirrors, the opener, into Obfuscation, just track 2, plus all the. I mean, do you sing ever when you gig?
Not when I gig, but I can sing, and I do sing sometimes on like my own stuff.
Okay. Do you ever go that direction?
Yes, sometimes.
Do you feel like you have it? You can do it well, or?
It's really tough.
Okay.
Are you talking about like the
throaty
the heavy
scream?
Stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can do it kind of like how I want to do it for my stuff, but I definitely don't consider myself like a vocalist. And that kind of aggression and just like rawness is something that you need to practice
100%,
and get really good at, because if you don't, then you can
hurt yourself.
Yeah, you'll mess your voice up, dude.
Well, my favorite, only because you mentioned the Chiefs, my favorite commentating pair these days, and it's not even close, is Tony Romo and Jim Nance.
Yeah.
I think Romo's amazing. I think him and Nance complement each other well. But a couple years ago, somebody did kind of a profile piece where they got to hang out with them from like early morning until the early part of the evening, and I think
Yeah.
it was a noon kick. But so I think they were like in a car together, Romo and Nance, and this journalist is with them, and they go through the drive-through, and Romo's just kind of telling him about the morning and the day, and he's like, I don't remember if he said 5 hours or some remarkable amount of time before the broadcast
Yeah.
with exercises
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
warm his throat up to call a football game, which is like, in a sense, only a tick more aggressive than what you and I are doing right now into the microphone. I mean,
Yeah.
there's excitement and confusion and all these sorts of things, but it's not screaming at that. So I can only imagine that it must be a significant exercise that, and by the way, you can't just do that tomorrow, like, at warm up. You need to really, I think, develop
Take your
the habit
time.
before you go for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can read about all these different heavy vocalists that have like routines for just prepping themselves just to go on tour. I mean, when Between the Buried Me goes on tour, sometimes it's not uncommon for them in some part of their album cycle, which at this point in their career, like a lot of their albums are having these 10-year anniversaries. One of their biggest ones ever, a fan favorite, the Parallax 2 Future Sequence, is in October going to be 10 years old.
Dang.
So they go out and they play entire albums, top to bottom, like on like a 30 run, like a 30 date. There's just like these super long tours where he has to do it every single night. And I have a lot of favorite bands that sometimes the vocalist just like gets sick or
trashes his voice night one.
and they got to do the show instrumental or something, and it's like Tommy's never had to do that from Between the Buried Me because he's
smart.
I think, yeah. I mean, it's a combination of being smart and just having the right voice for it,
Yeah.
first of all.
Yeah.
Which he does, and I don't know. So that's...
Well, I've brought this up once before on a different episode, but there's a gal called the Charismatic Voice on YouTube.
Yeah.
And she's like a vocal coach, or she's an expert in that field.
Yeah.
And so she reviews songs that people suggest,
I
and
think I've seen her stuff, actually.
she's cute, and she's really good at what she does.
Yeah.
And like, kind of gets geeked out about things that are really in the heart of her wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But I watched her do a reaction to Tom Sawyer by Rush.
Oh, yeah.
And she really, it was mine. Getty kind of gets up there a lot, and especially in that song. And she was, first of all, the first observation she made was the way that he was like closing his mouth or his teeth at the end of consonants, and there was a term for it which I forget already. But then she was talking about not only like he knows physically with his body where to go to hit those high spots and not have it be a strain.
Yeah.
And then she's talking about like, oh, look how he's standing, his posture in standing.
Oh, dude.
And how if you really, really do yourself a favor if you have the good and also you can take it up another notch if you're barefoot.
Oh, damn.
And I was like, all of these things, like, wow. So, I mean, there's it makes complete sense that, a band could go out there and the dude could trash his voice in one set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you, it's just one of those things that takes practice, man.
Disease, Injury, Madness, track 3, 11:02 running time.
My favorite song.
Ballsy move.
Just my favorite song ever.
What a ride that thing is.
Yeah.
It's I mean, I don't know. And it's very interesting that so we had this sort of surprise opener, the hard transition into track 2,
Yeah.
and then kind of right here in the middle ground, they give us this, this kind of epic journey.
Yeah.
And for me, and we'll get to the other in just a sec, but it closes with an 18-minute mammoth But I almost think I like Disease, Injury, Madness a little bit better than that final track.
Yeah, Swim to the Moon is
Swim to the Moon, yeah.
not for the the casual
Well,
listener
it's
just trying to put something on. It's definitely like a task
right,
kinda to
right.
to get through, but I love thinking about this record because it takes me to my senior year of high school where I was kind of figuring out a lot of stuff about who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. And one thing that I was kind of realizing is I wanted to get really into recording and producing music and stuff. And I wanted to write music. And this album coming out, like, so just to kind of like give some context, because
I was going to ask
a
for
lot
it
of
if you didn't give it. So
a lot of people, most people have heard, most people that are into like any kind of heavy music have heard of Between the Buried Me at this point. They started with their self-titled, just pretty run-of-the-mill hardcore stuff. They're all really good at their instruments still at this time. And then the Silent Circus is like a better version of that. And then they had some lineup changes. And then Alaska came out. And Alaska is just like, now they're starting to, they still have that super, super heavy edge, but they're kind of getting some weird like progressive, like proggy elements and stuff in there too. But they're still just like, it's just like brutal sounding. So then Colors came out, and Colors is like like their magnum opus. I mean, it's still talked about as, a lot of people say it's like the best modern progressive metal album ever and stuff. And it was just like overwhelming how it just took them from here to like there. Like they did stuff on that album that like no other band had done at that time. So with that, you know, what are they going to do next? It was the anticipation was like, oh my God, are they going to like, are they going to make even longer songs? Are the parts going to be crazier? Like it's like Colors is a super, super technical record. There's a lot of notes, a lot of riffs. I think a lot of people's complaints with it is that it just kind of sometimes sounds like a little bit like riff salad. It's like they're doing this and then the guitars are doing this and it all makes sense, but it's overwhelming to listen to.
I think that's why Swim to the Moon didn't jive with me quite as heavily, because it felt like a whole bunch of solos or vignettes or pieces.
One after the other. Yeah. It's like all over the place basically. So their answer to that in The Great Misdirect is Colors is kind of supposed to feel like one super long song. My favorite thing about The Great Misdirect is that they, instead of like doing that again, I think they really kind of stepped back and they kind of changed their approach, and they made something that kind of feels like Mirrors and Obfuscation kind of are like one. It goes into Obfuscation so much that you can kind of consider that like one song. It kind of feels like a mini series almost. It's not a concept album because each song is about something very different.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are related, but it's almost kind of like you're listening to like you're kind of like going into like different universes almost. But they're all super, super detailed. They kind of dialed back the technical stuff a little bit and focused a little bit more on like arrangement and just what's a good part for this. I think it's just like and it's crazy because it's like, how are they going to top Colors? I think they did.
So were you pretty familiar with Colors before this record came out?
Yeah, I started listening to them before Colors came out, so I got really into Alaska. That was the one that I was like I think I heard the song Alaska. That was the first song that I ever heard by them. I was hanging out with one of my buddies, and we were just like, we found them on MySpace or something, and I played one of their songs, and I was like, holy shit, these guys sound like Dream Theater if they were way, way, way heavier,
Mm-hmm.
and the vocalist didn't sound like a girl,
right?
Basically, not to say anything bad about James LaPree, but
no.
So then when Colors came out, I was like, I remember seeing the track list for it on iTunes, and I was like, dude, these guys have like, look how many of these songs are like 10-minute songs or whatever. And then The Great Misdirect comes out. This is an hour-long album. Like you said, it only has 6 songs on it, dude.
Yeah.
That is like
But Colors is the Magnus. How do you say it? Magnus
That's their
opus.
like magnum opus.
Magnum opus. But this record, you like this record better?
I think it's a better album, even if the last track is a little bit
Yeah.
kind of jammy in some spots.
Sure.
There's a lot of like random soloing and shit, but yeah.
Fossil Genera,
Fossil Genera,
a feed from Cloud Mountain. So I mean, again, just the surprises. They open up with keys.
Yeah, it's
and there's
this weird,
chill
like kind
vocals.
of like Mike Patton-esque, like Mr. Bungle
Is
type
that-
weird shit.
Mike Patton, is that the dude from Faith No More?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like keys, chill vocals, and then there's even a couple like la la, like weird little things happening. I was like, what is gonna happen here?
It's just zany, man. They get really zany.
And then after the minute mark, or 90 seconds or so, and they just they take off.
Yeah.
And then just it's really creative across the track, and then a really interesting final 2 minutes.
Big epic ending, dude.
So this is 5 of 10 for them. And you after this, you familiar with all their stuff that came out after this one? Okay.
Oh yeah, very.
Desert of Song. Almost a total departure from the whole rest of the record.
Oh, it's just them taking a breather, man.
I mean, I like it. Fits though.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. And then Swim to the Moon. There's no way that you could even one listen doesn't mean shit. Like
No.
I'd have to give it a couple or three to really. Oh, okay.
They're one of those bands where you listen to one of their songs like that, like one time through, and you're like, I don't know what I just. I have no. I could not like hum you a single lick of what I just heard.
Yeah.
Because it takes a second. Swim to the Moon is like what that song is about. I love in music, like when the lyrics are about something and then the actual music is like illustrating that somehow.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Not all the time. You don't want every song to do that.
Yeah, because I mean, it can get tacky, but if it's done like every once in a while and it's
done well,
tasteful,
yes.
Yeah.
It's
Chef
kiss.
Yeah, you're like a lyric guy. So I'm definitely more like kind of I should pay more attention to the lyrics. But like anyway, this song is about a dude who I guess is like so sick of society that he just decides to like swim out of the ocean and like he wants to build himself a raft and then just be away from society. But then like he's out in the middle of the ocean and he's like gonna drown and shit. And the waves are getting more intense.
It's the Aqua version of Into the Wild.
It's yeah. I mean, it's like that. So it's just heavy riff after riff after riff after riff. There's a part where he's like, panic takes over my body. That's a super heavy part. And then it just like never ends. And I just imagine that's what that would be like if I did that. Like the panic just keeps coming and keeps coming, dude.
Yeah. And then, I mean, eventually you're going to die.
Yeah.
And then other shit's going to happen to you after you're dead.
Yeah.
And just kind of keeps.
Yep.
So any other, whether it's now or early 2000s or 90s, any other big records for you that will always hold a fond place?
Those are the big ones, but I'm also really, really hugely into like post metal, or just have you ever heard of a band called ISIS?
Mm-mm.
They were big before ISIS became
for real.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it actually sucks because now when you talk about ISIS, they're a band that kind of like I have a huge love for that whole subgenre of metal where it's just like, again, super, super low tuned guitars, but the material is like it's almost kind of like stoner rock a little bit, but it's like you start with an idea, this really, really long songs, but unlike a band like Between the Buried and Me, you start with an idea and then it just slowly turns into something huge and massive. And ISIS is one of the bands that mastered that.
Okay.
Kind of
Post metal.
Post metal, post rock. I mean, if you like, you can look up a lot of the origins of post rock, and you'll get some pretty weird, obscure stuff.
Well, I think anytime we've had post punk and post pop, and I mean, I didn't even know that post rock and post metal were things.
Post rock kind of gets conflated with like avant-garde stuff a little bit, so it's kind of weird, but the metal aspect of it has brought, I think, some of the greatest albums that I've ever heard. Definitely emphasis on the word albums again. This is stuff that like Panopticon by ISIS. That's a 7-song album, really long songs. It's all very specifically ordered, like you're supposed to listen to the whole thing, and it just kind of feels like a journey.
I love it.
And yeah, that would be where my brain goes next. Oh, and Opeth too, Blackwater Park by Opeth.
Okay, nice. You mentioned, senior year, kind of having the realization that recording and production might be a thing that you would like to do or are into, or how did you wind up there?
So, I knew I had been playing guitar, and I wanted to write my own stuff, and I just wanted a way to like get it professionally. It's all very like it was all really self-serving for me, because I've been like a musician my whole life, but I've only been into recording for like, I guess, half my life now. So I ended up going to the Summit Tech Academy, which is a kind of like a trade school or like a tech school thing that you could go study random stuff in your senior year of high school.
Cool. For credit hours?
No.
Or just on the side?
Just like on the side. So you can get a certificate in this or that or whatever.
Nice.
So the Summit Tech Academy had a digital media course where for my whole senior year of high school, I spent half of each day going in the mornings. And then the first semester was like film production. So I learned about, color correction and like lighting, and got pretty extensive into the video editing using Final Cut Pro and just doing a lot of stuff like that. But it was only a semester long, so I just kind of scratched the surface.
This is still Westminster?
No, this was in Lee Summit.
13. 13 was when you, my bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like 17, 18 at this point.
Okay. This place still exists?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're doing great. Actually, the digital media portion of it, they're in like a totally different building, like across the street now, and the program is like really built up now, and it's cool.
That's cool.
I actually got invited back there to kind of do like a little bit of like guest mixing on something.
That's fun.
As somebody who graduated over 10 years ago.
Did you do it?
I did. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was really cool. But yeah, so they kind of split it up. I think they're still doing it like this, where the first semester is like film production, second semester is like audio production.
Okay.
And that was kind of my first crash course into learning how to do things like put mics on stuff, record stuff. We even got into some sound design, using Logic Pro's software, and really just getting familiarized with that.
Sure.
I had a really rock star teacher who was also my orchestra director, Mr. Kurt Mosier, who actually found a way to get Logic Pro onto my personal computer.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he was supposed to do that. I hope he doesn't get in trouble.
Shouts out to Mr. Mosier.
Hey, he's retired anyway, man.
Right.
How you doing, Mosier? Thanks for that, man.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, and so that kind of, so once I had that software and then I got some other stuff, that was when I really first started like making my own music and like learning how to do all of this stuff that I'm still doing today. So that program was really like the thing that kind of got me into it. And then after that, I went to Mizzou for a year.
Really?
They didn't have, I was just studying, like I was double majoring in like computer science and music performance.
Back to that smart people shit.
Dude, I had to drop the computer science that semester because I couldn't handle doing a music degree and an engineering degree at the same time.
I mean, yeah.
As a freshman.
That sounds like a lot.
But I wanted to keep studying recording, but there wasn't really anything like that at Mizzou. I guess UCM at the time had a really good program for it.
Is that Rolla?
No, it's Warrensburg.
Warrensburg, okay.
And then
Oh, it's right down the street.
yeah, it's pretty close by. So I don't know why I didn't go there. I didn't go there because I found out about McNally Smith College of Music, which was in St. Paul, Minnesota. Hence the triangle is complete.
Right,
Going
right.
back to Minnesota, and went to school there and graduated in 3 years because I went during the summers, and so I graduated in 2014, and then since then I've just been doing my thing.
So, what do you mean by self-serving? Because you're a musician, like now you've acquired this skill where you can record your own stuff, whether it's
Yeah.
original material or just you riffing, whatever it is. But now you have the skill, right? Is that what you meant by self-serving?
Yeah,
Okay.
like I guess I meant maybe not self-serving, but it was definitely like I wanted to do it because I wanted to make my stuff sound good.
I don't think there's anything like self-serving doesn't have to have a negative connotation to it. I think it's perfectly fine if you
Yeah.
like, hey, like, I mean, figuring out how to do, with help of yourself, my cousin, who, I had people help me with the idea of the table and mounting camera. I mean,
Yeah.
it's good for your brain and your soul to learn a new skill.
Yeah.
And if one of the end results of said new skill means that you are fostering another like of your own, I mean, fucking go for it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good attitude to have.
I
about
mean,
it, man.
I'm not being silly. I mean
No,
that.
yeah.
Like,
And I guess like really when you think about it, how does anybody come to want to get into recording anyway? You
well,
know?
I mean, the guy that was on here. Does your dad ever? By the way, does he ever look for? Does he ever find a minute? Man, I really need a guitarist. Because if he did, my last guess would be.
Well, maybe. I mean, he needs people. I know he needs somebody for Friday.
Right.
So yeah.
But he, has been. I mean, he's been in bands for decades, and they this wasn't like per se his personal highlight, but they opened for Cherry Poppin' Daddies. And it was like, we're used to doing a jazz number and you finish a song, there's like four people clapping.
Yeah.
This was shoulder to shoulder. Oh, you look out and all you see is heads at a big venue, and then you finish a song and the place like erupts. Yeah. He was like, oh my God. Anyway, he talked about very clearly, like across his trajectory, you come across, cross paths with people that they dabble in, not all of them, but dabble in recording, and then they're like, you know what, I think I like this better.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't not enjoy being a musician or gigging, but I actually just, in my heart of hearts, like this more.
Yeah.
And this is how I want to spend my time. So, nothing wrong with either way.
And just like for my part of it, I think the idealistic part of me kind of gravitates more towards just doing like studio work,
Sure.
more than live work, because I like we all like control.
You don't have to fuck around with that anxiety.
Dude, exactly, yeah.
At least not on the same level.
Yeah. Some people have it the other way around, man. Like I've like a lot of the people that I bring into the studio, sometimes they're in there for maybe the second or third time ever being in a studio, and that gives people a certain other kind of anxiety.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like, it's normal.
Right.
To me,
Yeah.
But it's just interesting how that's different brains kind of react differently in different fires.
So, is there a project that you're working on right now, musically or recording, or that doesn't necessarily pertain to your job, or that it's just like a pet project or a love?
Well, a couple of things actually I want to talk about. I have an album that's about to come out with a guy who kind of started out as like a client of mine.
Really?
He just wanted somebody to play instruments on his stuff. And so we started learning his songs together, and I started basically like writing second guitar parts or like a bass part to this or whatever. This was like 3 years ago.
Sure.
And so like now we're at a point where we actually kind of developed this musical relationship where instead of like him doing an EP and hiring me to play instruments on it, it kind of has turned into like a full length album.
Nice.
That he still has written most of the songs, like all the lyrics, but it's way more collaborative now.
Okay.
And it's pretty cool. There's a lot of acoustic songs, but it's not fully an acoustic record. There's 3 or 4 songs on there that have like all instruments on it. It's called Karate at the Mall.
Okay.
That's the band name.
Okay.
And that's the name of the album.
Self-titled
right
debut.
Yep. And the first song on it is called Karate
There,
at the
hey,
Mall.
so is this like the project with where you recorded your mom? Like whenever you can make schedules work, you cut out a block and you go work on the thing, and
Yeah, it's dependent on our schedules.
Right.
So, but it's all been done at Chapter 2 where
Okay.
I work. So he's one of my longest lasting and best clients. But it's also like I'm in a band with him now too.
so this started as a project under the Chapter 2 umbrella and has kind of become its own thing, or it still is a Chapter 2 thing, or
It's definitely. I mean, we've done everything at Chapter 2, so it's sort of synonymous.
with blessings from the powers that be over there.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And,
Cool.
And we're rehearsing to kind of like play some live shows now, out of the studio, which is really great. And
Who's
Yeah.
gonna shepherd the thing that is making that happen? You know, getting the gigs, setting it up. I mean,
I think we're gonna kind of take that on equally.
Okay.
We each have some ideas.
Cool.
Of places that we want to reach out to, and we're gonna start really small, but we are planning on, we're getting equipment together to take out, and we could probably do a 2-hour set
no kidding.
with just original songs and his originals. It's like all original stuff, and then we'll probably throw some covers in there
Sure.
at some point. But
A couple or 3
But,
covers
yeah.
is always fun.
so that's something that is right about to come out that I'm really excited about. I don't know what the release date is yet. We haven't
Well,
really talked about it.
Where is it going to be? On like Bandcamp?
It'll
or?
be band. We'll make a Bandcamp account, but
Okay.
we're gonna make sure that it's on any streaming service. That
Nice.
You could want. We're trying to decide if we want to press actual CDs, but
Oh, wow.
but it's at least gonna be any place that you could stream something.
Sure.
It'll be out there. So
So you think like handful of months, or
maybe a couple months.
Couple months.
at the very most. I mean,
Okay.
I just finished mastering the album last week.
well,
And
I mean,
they've been approved by us both and
nice.
everything. So
Of course, Thanksgiving and Christmas
yeah,
show up every year and kind of
yeah, man.
throw everybody's calendars off. But a couple months from now, Karate at the Mall.
That's coming out. And
Very cool.
I'm
And-
I'm also working on my own solo album.
No, really. Okay.
I do have a solo project that's kind of like I was talking to you about post metal.
Yeah.
It's mostly instrumental. And it kind of sounds like that, but it can get a little bit busier at times. So I have 2 full-length albums out with that, and then an EP with that.
That are already out.
Yeah, they're already out. So,
Really?
So the name of the project is Red Finton.
Fenton, like Fenton.
Fin.
Fin. Okay.
Yeah. So that stuff is everywhere. Anybody could go look for those projects, but this record that I'm doing now is like not under that. It's like more of like a solo effort, and it's gonna be more like song oriented.
Okay.
I think. So
Very cool, man.
It's gonna be like a lot wackier too. I'm actually kind of nervous about recording it because
You gotta. I mean,
I'm in the baby pre-production stages
Sure.
of that. I'm like demoing stuff, so that'll
Well,
come out hopefully sometime like
I mean,
a year or something.
you wrote it the way you wrote it and created it the way you created it, and like I think you shouldn't let yourself get caught up in that nervousness, because like
Oh, yeah.
when you made it, you loved it, right?
Yes.
Or you at least on some level enjoyed it. So
yeah.
just because you're going to expose yourself to the world, don't forget that where it came from was
Oh man,
the right.
I'm
you know
gonna
what I
I'm
mean?
gonna make no. It's all. The only thing that I care about is how do I feel about this.
Sure.
That's really what it is.
Okay.
So hopefully people like it. We'll see.
Yeah.
I got a long road ahead of me as far as
Sure.
that one. But
Where did that name come from?
the Red Fenton.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an old reference to, like, when I was little, I used to like write comics.
Nice.
Really, really little and like really crappy stuff that I would just do when I was
Sure.
supposed to be like reading something in
Right.
school or whatever. So I think Fenton is like a reference to like a city in like one of those stories that I had like made up in my
Okay.
head or something. So it's like something from my old childhood and red's my favorite color.
Okay.
So I don't know, at a certain point it kind of, like, I had Red Fenton as my email address,
Funny.
like my first one, and then I don't know, after college I just decided to use it as a name for a project.
Sure.
And then
Funny how that stuff becomes reality. It's like born somewhere back here, and then all of a sudden it's a real thing in the world.
yeah.
So Red Fenton, Finton. You can find stuff already. Karate at the Mall.
That's
couple
going to be coming.
Couple
out.
months away. And will you promote it on social media platforms?
Yeah.
And what would be the best ones for people to check or follow you so they know?
So you probably want to follow, if you're interested, go to the Chapter 2 recording Instagram, because it'll be all over that. But then my own personal Instagram and Josh's. And then Karate at the Mall, we actually have an Instagram and a YouTube page, and
Okay.
a Facebook page, and just
With stuff already on it?
Yeah.
Nice.
A little bit of stuff.
A little bit of stuff, sure.
Yeah.
A little bit goes a long way.
Yeah, man.
Do you find, generally speaking, that the world that we live in right now is a place in which one can easily find and obtain happiness? Or does it... must we endure the fires and the battles and the trials? I mean, just from your experience at age, are you 30 right now?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I like how we're ending this on a super, super deep note. I don't know. I mean, any more these days, I feel like that the answer to that, I don't think there's any like right or wrong answer, but I think if there is, then it depends entirely on your relationship with yourself.
Okay.
You know?
Can you say a little bit more about that relationship with yourself?
Well, if you're not happy with yourself, then it doesn't matter what you accomplish, what you think you want to accomplish. If you get there, then, you know, it's all about what's going on in here, man.
Yeah.
Like how are you with you?
Right.
You know? That just goes that I don't know if that's like a cop-out answer.
No,
but
no,
like,
it's real, I think.
like I certainly have not been having an easy year with like being laid off, and you know, that's been stressful. There's been some other stressful stuff too, like my grandpa passed away earlier this year.
Really?
And yeah, and it's just but like I'm like going through kind of a stressful time right now, but I wake up every day and I'm like pretty stoked.
I mean, it seems like there are pockets of joy already existing and potential like within arm's reach for you to sort of, you know,
you latch onto for a little bit, and
or take a drink from, and
yeah. You just can't stick around anywhere for like too long, and
right.
just make sure that you're not.
Well, the whole adage, life is what happens when you're making plans. I mean, upstairs you were telling me about this whole big, to me, this big, okay, like I got a place, I have things that I'm interested in, I have a job, and all right, now next chat, and then all of a sudden, boom, right? Yeah. And if you don't either have a little bit of resiliency or develop a little bit along the way, it can be cold and brutal out there, man.
Yeah. You got to be willing to put yourself in an uncomfortable position,
and then later remember that shit.
Yeah, and then it becomes comfortable, and then more life happens to you,
yeah.
and then you just keep doing it,
yeah.
you know, until you die.
Right. So tomorrow, I know that you are a musician at heart, and you've acquired these skills that are closely related to the music world. But tomorrow you wake up and money is no longer an issue. your family, you, whoever it is. There's more money than all the people that are in your circle can spend before they're all dead.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have a job or look for a job.
Yeah.
Your days are to spend how you want to spend them. What are your days looking like?
Dang, man.
I mean, I would suspect that there's an element of musicianship. There's an element of recording and production.
Yeah.
Perhaps, at the top you mentioned that you and your siblings are close, but you don't get to see them as often. So perhaps a little bit more time with family. But
yeah,
what are the rest of the gaps? Are you a traveling guy? Are you going to go invent something in a lab?
Yes.
Are you going to hike a mountain?
Dude, I'm a traveler big time.
Okay.
That's probably what I would if I woke up tomorrow and I had basically like an endless supply of money, then I'd start figuring out like I want to see parts of the world that I wouldn't be able to, and I feel like it's really important that I do that as much as possible, because especially like somebody like me, like I don't have pets or a girlfriend or kids or anything like that, man. Right. It's just me.
Yeah.
So traveling. I want to get really good at cooking.
Okay.
I want to be like when quarantine started, I got really hooked on just watching like Kenji Lopez, all binging with Babish, all of these cooking channels. And it's really like, it's gone beyond just me habitually like, look, it's like, I'm actually like trying some of this stuff and like getting into it.
Cool.
So I think that people who are like really into like the whole culinary industry and kind of like the music industry, I think there's like a lot of
overlap. Yes, there. For sure. And I think comedy's in there too, man.
Oh, I mean, yeah, dude, big time.
The best comics in the world, they go wherever their little spot locally, or maybe they tour. But you're writing in some fashion, and then you write a joke or you write a series of jokes, and then all of a sudden you have a bit.
Yeah.
And then you got to try that shit out on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And the end goal, if you follow the already printed itinerary for how to make it, is that you come up with an hour. Yeah. And then you shoot a special. And then the minute you shoot that special, that hour is no longer. Are you telling? You don't tell those jokes anymore. It's all you start
go
the whole
on. Yep.
And I watched podcasts of these guys. There's a level of anxiety and nervousness immediately.
Yeah.
You shoot that special, and you're like, "Fuck! Now I got to do new stuff." And it's like they've been doing it their whole lives, their whole adult life, and so
and they still suffer with they probably grapple with the insecurities of it. I just watched the Sam Morrill special.
He's awesome, dude. He's one of the best joke writers in the business. I love him. I do not like this new model that Netflix is like saying, a 30-minute or a 45-minute.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was a really good special, but I would have absolutely loved 15 more minutes.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. But
he's so. I saw him here in the fall.
Oh, nice.
Last year. Great. Just a great.
I didn't even know who he was until like a few months ago, I think.
Well, he was about around a year ago, perhaps longer. Somebody mentioned him because he was dating another comic. But somebody was like, "Oh, dude, he's like the best joke writer in the business right now." And so I just went to YouTube and I was like, "Holy shit,
he's funny
he's
as fuck,
really
dude.
Fucking smart and sharp." And then he, Bert Kreischer's kind of been given the credit for this drive-in movie theater thing during COVID.
Yeah,
Sam did his own deal and occasionally illegally booked rooftop gigs. And he's fighting like everybody. Not only is everybody distant and masked, but like there's helicopters and shit.
Yeah,
said,
dude.
One of them in New York, everything goes this way, and he was in the middle, and somebody opened their window. They're like, "Shut the fuck up!"
Dude, that's amazing.
Yeah, but all of it goes back to that. There's only nervousness and anxiety if you give a shit
Yeah.
about it. If you really enjoy this and you really want to do it well, that's part of the mix, baby. You just got to figure out how to dance with it, right?
Yeah, and it's all about just taking that in stride and experiencing it, and feeling it, and then just doing it anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, cool, man. Travel. Any other hobbies you've always wanted to peek under the covers at, or?
Well, I'm pretty big into running, and that's kind of a big focus right now. I'm training for the Kansas City Marathon.
Really?
Yeah. So that's a big part of my life right now.
When is that happening?
October 15th.
I mean, that's like tomorrow.
It's coming.
How long have you been training?
It's coming up. Well, this past Saturday I did 21 miles.
No kidding?
And it was the first time that I hit the wall, as they
boy.
call it.
What did you do?
Well, the wall I thought was just like a vague term for just kind of like being too tired to keep running, which is what happens to a lot of runners, but it's not. It's an actual thing that happens to your body when you've burned so much calories that you have no more glycogen in your system.
That sounds dangerous.
So your body has to tap into like your body starts burning fat as a fuel source instead of glycogen, which is nowhere near as efficient. And you feel it.
Does it fuck up your sugar levels and make you feel dizzy and shit?
Dude, I mean, I got done with this thing. Like my arms were tingling. I was so dizzy, like I didn't feel like I could see straight, man. So, yeah, it might be dangerous. I don't know for sure.
But how great will it feel when you finish that race?
Right. So what I'm hoping is going to happen is that with a little bit better preparation and taking more breaks and just taking it like a little bit easier, I'm hoping that like the adrenaline that comes from just like being in a race with all these other people is going to be enough to carry me the rest of the way without me like passing out and dying.
Well, I think
something.
I think the only mindset to have for your first one is
I just want to
finish.
I just want to get it done. I don't even care. I don't care how long it takes. I just want to do it.
You got to take care of yourself early so you don't burn out, and then so are you running like in the mornings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, especially when I do these really long runs. I try to go as early as possible. I have a buddy that I do it with, which really helps.
And I mean, you've now here near the end of September, if you've been doing this for a minute, I would suspect you've experienced a lot of different weather situations, like the hot and the chilly and the wet.
The weather makes an astounding difference in how, like, I've had runs that were like 13. I've ran like half marathons, even like being like a little bit hungover sometimes.
Okay.
I've done it and it's been like easier than some days where I go try to run 5 miles and maybe I didn't sleep well and it's like 89 degrees out. Like I have trouble finishing that, but the other one, so I would say the weather and getting enough sleep and just being hydrated enough. Those are the 3 main things.
Yeah.
Probably, and they probably all take.
So last but not least, I meant to ask this earlier, but so your mom heard the Blink-182 stuff and maybe also heard Chevelle.
Yeah.
Your dad, obviously, they're both huge music backgrounds. Your dad asked you to gig with him from time to time.
Yeah.
What did they have any kind of reaction to sort of the throaty, aggressive stuff that you get a little bit of in the Great Misdirect? Are they into it? Or like what? How did?
I think I don't think they get it. Like they definitely like appreciate it, and they would never like. They would never be like, "Why do you listen to that shit?" But I don't think I don't know. I don't think they like. They definitely like wouldn't listen to that kind of stuff on their own. Maybe.
But
there has been stuff that there's been times where I come home and I'm listening to like the Contortionist or some kind of a band that's like that, and then my mom will be like, "What were you like listening to in your car like when you like drove in last night? 'Cause it sounded like really cool." You know,
nice.
So there's definitely like a link there.
Sure,
but for the most part, we don't it's like totally open. There's no gatekeeping or anything like
Sure.
that. But I would never expect them to ask me a lot of questions about the bands that I listen to.
All right,
I mean, they do sometimes.
Let me borrow your System of a Down CD. I can't find mine.
Yeah, exactly. And then and anymore, and it kind of works the other way around too, because like I don't really listen to a lot of jazz. I mean, I have this like super deeply embedded like appreciation for it.
It's in your bones.
And classical music and stuff like that, but I don't, it doesn't like it doesn't give my heart a boner
Right.
to listen to that stuff.
So you got to figure out where the Mom project is that you recorded. You got to figure if she still has it, or I forget what you said.
Oh, well, I don't know what places it's available online. I mean,
But somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
for sure.
Okay. So Karate at the Mall, coming soon. The Red Fenton stuff's already out there.
That stuff's already out there, and then I'm working on my own, which is going to be like under my name, kind of an album.
Okay. So Louis Pagan on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then maybe you should throw your mom's stuff up there just to see.
I need to,
if you can.
Yeah, I at the very least need to put it in my portfolio on my website.
There you go. Oh, so you have a website?
I do. Yes. Please visit my website. It's brand new.
Which is?
It's lpaudioproducer.com.
lpaudioproducer.com. And can you find all your social media platforms from that website?
Yeah.
Cool.
Everything's linked up.
Very nice. Man, well, thank you again for last winter coming and entering a stranger's home to help him sort of get this thing off the ground.
Yeah, dude, it makes me so happy to like look behind me and see this wall of like all of these shows that you've done with this and just thanks for having me on, man.
Thanks for making the time.
Badass.
I know when we first started communicating that your schedule was super crazy, and maybe that's shifted a little now, but I was when I reached out, I was like, I don't know if he's going to have time to. So I'm glad you did, and thank you for giving it to me.
Man, it's all about making time for the stuff you want to do.
Right?
Man. That's like that's how I look at stuff like that.
I love it. Well, Louis Pagan, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man.
All right, talk to you.
Hell yeah, dude, that was good.